He did not touch me.
Okay, and if you go back to defendant's exhibit number.
How many times did Holtzclaw touch you inappropriately?
He didn't touch me.
He never touched you?
No.
Next to the third to the last line says, Holtzclaw then asked Plaintiff Barnes if there was anything under her breast and fondled Plaintiff Barnes's naked breast. Do you see that?
You just read it. Yes, I see it, sir.
Isn't that different than what you testified today?
What do you mean is that different?
Didn't you say Holtzclaw didn't touch you?
He didn't touch me.
So this is a mistake.
He did not touch me.
Okay, and if you go back to defendant's exhibit number 11, which is the information, count 1.
Go ahead.
5 lines from the bottom of count 1, directing TB to expose her breast and then touching her bare breast with his hand without her consent. That's also a mistake.
He didn't touch me.
Okay. And you understand that Mr. Holtzclaw was convicted of sexual battery on that count as a result of your testimony?
Yes.
So that would have been a lie?
What would have been a lie?
The fact that he was charged with touching you.
I don't know what he was charged with. I know he was charged with 3 counts of me exposing myself.
Okay.
Just one further question, Ms. Barnes. You would agree, would you not, that you have to be 100% truthful about what you've told us today for you to prevail in your lawsuit?
Yes.
Okay, and you've been 100% truthful with us today about everything that you claimed?
Yeah,
you haven't lied to us, right?
No. Everything that I remember is what I remember. That's what I'm telling you.
Oops. Hang on. Oh my gosh, I am really struggling today. So I don't have that video downloaded. I made the video, but I don't have it downloaded to preset into StreamYard. So it was a bit of a, what do they call it? A clusterfuck trying to get everything started. So I'm really sorry. And while that was playing, Katie jumped into the stream. So how you doing, Kay?
Talking muted. I'm good.
Oh, okay. Listen, the way I got started this afternoon, it was amazing. So,
all right,
you did great compared to what I did. Excuse me. So the reason I played that video, hopefully all of you or most of you have seen that already. That is Tabitha Barnes from her deposition, as you read on the front card that came up. So it's important that we felt like it was important for you to see that, because in that deposition, when she did her deposition, she said, I believe 5 different times, he didn't touch me. She's speaking about Daniel Holtzclaw. He did not touch me. He didn't touch me. And, but one of the charges is that he absolutely did touch her on one of 3 encounters that they had, on the first encounter of 3 that she allegedly had with Daniel. Well, the encounters did take place, but not the assaults, of course. And so we wanted you to hear that in the deposition. Not only should that have been overturned, but it should have, those charges should have never been made to begin with, because, well, oh gosh, it's such a long way. It's hard. It's so hard to do this case without going down a rabbit hole with you guys, everybody. Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Neverly. She absolutely said that she had exposed herself. You did hear that right. And that's kind of where I was trying to go, is that she says that, throughout her interview that we're going to play for you with Rocky Gregory, that she exposed herself. He didn't tell her to lift up her shirt and expose her breasts. It was that she just assumed it, so she did it. Never, at no time does she ever claim that he told her to lift her shirt or open up her pants for him to see. She assumed that's what he was asking or wanting, according to her, and she did it on her own. So, Kay, I did put in the chat, and as did Cherie. By the way, I want to say hello to everybody in Foul Play. Jack is streaming for Foul Play right now, and we, as always, greatly appreciate that. So thank you, Jack, for doing that for us.
Glad to do it.
Woohoo! I love when he does that. Woohoo! So I put in the chat, as well as so did Cherie I don't recall, over in Foul Play, that at the very end of that interview is Kathleen Zellner. I'm guessing that there are some questions that might possibly be, some who aren't familiar with the case, some might have questions about Kathleen Zellner's part in Daniel's case. So Kay, I'm going to leave that to you to explain, if you don't mind.
Sure. So Kathleen Zellner came on to help with the case, with the civil lawsuit. And it was Kathleen and, oh my gosh, help me. What is her partner's name?
Doug Johnson.
Doug Johnson. So between the two of them, they deposed most of the accusers. Let's see, there were 11 accusers that were part of the civil lawsuit. And Zellner deposed lab analyst Elaine Taylor. I should have reviewed this before the show. I'm forgetting.
Well, I just kind of threw it on you, so sorry. That's my bad.
Anyway, so obviously she is no longer a part of the case. We had hoped that she was going to be successful in getting Stephen Avery out and have that kind of off of her plate, which, as everyone knows, that hasn't happened yet. But she was just obviously an asset for Daniel in the depositions, and the information that was obtained in the depositions is some of the information will be able to be used in his post-conviction effort. But she did step away from the case right at the end. We weren't finished with depositions yet. I mean, she had deposed everyone that we had called in to depose. I think Daniel's attorney now, James Hankins, deposed the last one or two accusers. And she stepped away just because she just had so much on her plate. I think it was difficult taking on this case, which is like 13 cases, and being in Illinois and not Oklahoma. So that's the story. Soon
She
we'll
still
be able to.
believes in Daniel's innocence, right?
She absolutely does. I mean, she's made a few Twitter posts about that. She actually prepped Daniel himself for his deposition. And yeah, I mean, when you look at her website, she still has his photo and her Truth Wins logo. And she absolutely believes 100% in his innocence. And that's where we are.
Thank you, Kay.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully that, we'll explain it as many times as we need to, of course, throughout all of this entire case. But yeah, it was a pretty big deal for her to take on Daniel's case at that particular time. And, she did what she could, of course. But it was the Stephen Avery case that kind of held her back from being able to, go any further with it. And, we have to respect that. Of course, we respect that. I mean, she's still struggling with Stephen's case. I shouldn't say struggling, but she's still working hard on Stephen's case.
I'm trying to remember how many cases she had on her plate at that time. It was many. I mean, and I don't know. Well, at that time, she was working on motions for Stephen's case, but she also had Melissa. What was her name?
McClunsky.
Starts with a C.
McClunsky, M.
Oh,
Or Kolunsky. Maybe it was a C.
Anyway, there you go, Sheree.
It's
Kolunsky.
Kalusinski or
Kalusinski. We're not spelling it right if it's ski. Anyway, it doesn't matter. She had a lot on her plate, and that's exactly what she said when she stepped off of the case. So we trudge along.
We keep on going. Well, and at this point now, the civil suit's done. It's over, and there's, that doesn't mean that she might not listen, that she might not at some point be involved in his state post-conviction case, but I'm not counting on that. She's still way too buried into Stephen's case. So
yeah, I really don't. Yeah. I don't anticipate that, really.
I don't either.
That would be a surprise.
I'm looking at her website. She has 9 clients right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And let's not forget, she has 9 clients, but even though Daniel is a client, there's 13 cases in his case, which I always feel like I want to express, because his case is not, it's incredibly complex. So yeah, so again, thank you for everybody in Foul Play being here. And we have Foul Play has a new listener from Scotland, Vanda Costa. Welcome to Foul Play. And maybe we can get some links dropped into Foul Play's chat for my channel, where we cover.
I'll take care of it.
Awesome. Yep. Where we cover Daniel's case. So anyway, that was the reason. That was the whole reason for showing you that 2.5 minute clip of Tabitha Barnes, because if you remember watching her as she's saying that, she is dead serious. He didn't touch me. He did not touch me. He didn't touch me. Yet, as you'll hear when I play this interview for you from Brian Bates' podcast, you'll find that she claims then that he absolutely touched her. And it's a pretty graphic complaint that she makes. So I'm trying to think if I was wanting to play the radio traffic first. I'm not really sure. Well, so as we've told you guys in many of these different shows, Daniel was running or, calling in most of the times that he was stopping these ladies, legitimately stopping them, community policing stops. And he was calling those in, and we have several of those radio traffic calls, not all of them, or we haven't been able to locate all of them, but there are, plenty of people who say, well, he wasn't calling him in, he was turning off his computer. Never happened. I'll say it every time we do a live. I'll say it over. It never happened that he turned off his computer or AVL GPS during a stop. That never happened. I don't care what anybody else tries to tell you. Don't believe it. It's not true. And there is, if for no other reason, that's exactly what they use to help as evidence to convict Daniel, was his GPS locator activity. And they have it for every one of the accusers. So if he was turning that off, they wouldn't have those documents to have shown to the jury. But what was bad about that was that not only did they show those to the jury, but they told the jury that here's the AVL, here's the GPS data here showing you he was there on that stop. He committed those assaults. Well, it is just outrageous to believe that just because they have the GPS tracking information on his vehicle, that does not show any evidence or proof or anything whatsoever, because it isn't possible that he sexually assaulted anyone. It doesn't prove anything except for that he was where the detectives and the accusers said he was when they said he was. That's all that shows. So it's just really silly, in my opinion, that people want to say he was turning off his computer when he was stopping the women, because it didn't happen. The only time, and again, we'll say it again, the only time that happened was when it was the after hours traffic stop that he did on Janie Liggins on June 18th, 2014. And that was the whole thing that got this all started. And that wasn't that he saw somebody on the road traveling and he thought, ooh, I'm going to stop and assault this person. Number one, it was 2:00 in the morning, and so it was dark outside. Number two, the windows on that vehicle were tinted, so much so that he couldn't have seen who was in the car to profile them. So lots of ways easily to debunk all of those ridiculous accusations. So,
Rhonda, I think there's so much misinformation about this case because of just how it was covered when it happened. And even for several years after this happened, any coverage that you would find would be negative. It would be people making content based on, well, like just for instance, one thing from his interview with Kim and Rocky, when Kim said, when CSI went over your car, they found pubic hair in the back seat. Guilters still hang on to that, even though Kim was lying to him to try to get him to confess. People believe that they truly did find pubic hair in the back of his cruiser, and so that's enough for people to think, oh, of course he's guilty. So it's just things like that have created all of this content with misinformation. And it's been a struggle to really battle that, to really combat that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is really hard to argue against that because people, I don't know why people are just so close-minded that once they decide for whatever reasons, whether it's content that they've seen somewhere else or read or seen through the media, once somebody's made up their mind, generally speaking, it is really hard to and we see it with, I mean, how much proof do the guilters have in Stephen and Brendan's cases proving their innocence? And the guilters are still like, nope, nope, nope. They find a way to make guilt, have happened. So, and it's the same with Daniel's case. And you're absolutely right, Kate. And that's why I don't know of any other channel other than occasionally, not so much in the last several years, but Brian Bates has his podcast, of course. And then, he has some videos that he has on YouTube as well of some of the different interviews and things. But other than that and myself, I don't know of any other content that I've seen that is purely innocence based. And that's not me patting myself or all of us on the back at all. That's we're not getting very far very quickly as we'd like with it. So that's why we need you guys to share the videos and comment on the videos, ask us questions. There's not hardly anything that one of us can't answer for you. If you have a question. Kay, were you going to say something?
Is it Andrina O'Donnell?
Andrina, yes.
Do we know why she finally told the truth? Tabitha still seems to be a pretty heavy drug user, as evidenced by her contact with law enforcement since the trial. And so I really don't think she even knew what she said. I definitely don't say, hey, she recanted. I don't think she recanted on purpose. I think she forgot what she said happened because none of that crap ever happened. It's been a while since trial. That deposition, I don't know. I'm just going to guess. I bet it was in 2018.
Yes.
It was over the course of a few years that the depositions took place. I think she truly just forgot what the story was. And she said that. And
she obviously didn't know at that time of the deposition. I mean, she thought he got convicted because she exposed herself to him.
Yeah, absolutely. So I agree with Kay. I don't think it's at all about her recanting or telling the truth. She just simply, claims that she never said that she never said it and it never happened. And for whatever reasons, like Kay said, maybe it was drug use or who knows, but she forgot, she just simply probably forgot, even though it was shown to her by Richard Smith, the city attorney, the proof that she said it. She was like, nope, that's not what I understand why he was convicted. And that video, by the way, was published, I want to say the day before Daniel was, her particular cases were going before the parole board.
Right.
And the parole board just as quickly as they did with Richard Glossop, they voted against parole for those charges. Now, I had to clarify that by saying, even if they had voted yes, that let's overturn the charges on that one. those were only, I think it was only a total of like 8 years that, was going to be cut off of his entire 263 sentence. So it wasn't like there was never any possibility that he was going to be released from prison over that at all.
People are confused about that because when they see someone's coming up to the Pardon and Parole Board, I think people instantly think, oh, this is going to let him out or not. But Daniel was convicted on 18 of the 36 counts. So each one of those counts has a different amount of time attached to it. And I believe in Oklahoma, it's like 80 or 85% of that time that you have to serve before you can come before the board. So those, like Rhonda said, he comes before the board on individual counts at just varying times. And it's going to happen over and over again. People are going to see he's coming up for parole. The media likes to say it that way and not explain it because it's more dramatic, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So let me add, Liam asked quite a few moments ago, where are the two different claims on the timeline? And we'll explain that. Well, we'll attempt to explain it to you. Rather, Brian Bates, we're going to let him explain it to you because he can do it much more effectively than I can. Besides that, he investigated the case. He was the investigator for the jury trial. So Brian Bates, as we've said many times before, has all of the knowledge that goes with the things that he says in his podcast. What I'll do first, so anyway, where she falls in the timeline, her alleged assault, she alleges there were 3 times that she had contact with Daniel. One, it's so confusing, but one legitimately happened on February 27th, just barely after midnight, going from the 26th of February. It was 12:06 a.m. So 12:06 a.m. on the 27th of February. And that call lasted for about, I think we did the timing for like 16 or 17 minutes. And there was another individual with her in the vehicle. And this is the incident where she claims to have been touched by the officer. And it's like I said, it's a little graphic the way it's explained. And so we'll just let you play. You'll hear about that in the interview. But what's going to happen is she's going to claim it's a completely different date. You're going to hear her say that occurred on March 4th. We don't have any AVL data showing that he stopped her on the 4th of March. But the second time she was alleged, according to her, the second time she encountered him was about 2 weeks later, so about the middle of March. But we know that not to be the case either because of AVL data and a police report that I'll show you that Daniel wrote on this second incident was the same day. So it was nearly 24 hours later. It was I think it was about 20 hours later on the day or night of the 27th of February, she called in a burglary at her home. And there were like 10 other officers who showed up to this incident, this burglary. But the way Tabitha tells it in the interview, it's going to be confusing because she makes it sound like it was 2.5 weeks later, after March 4th, that burglary took place. And she makes it's very confusing, and Rocky doesn't help it at all, Rocky Gregory. So that happened, but illegitimately, at 12:06 on the 27th of February was the first encounter. 10 p.m. 10 minutes and 10, well, at 10:12 p.m. on the 27th was the second occurrence when the burglary occurred, but there wasn't a lot of contact that we can find between Daniel and Tabitha. We know there's contact with other officers, but what we see from that event is a written report by Daniel, who arrested or detained the individual who had broken into the home. And then the only other information that we have on Daniel about that is that later, after the suspect was taken to jail to the hospital by another officer, Daniel and the other officers on that scene went over to the residence to talk to Tabitha. But like I said, there's no record or report written saying that Daniel had any contact with her. He may have, but we just don't have the evidence of it. And then the third time that she was allegedly had contact with Daniel occurs the very next day. So what it legitimately is, the second contact is March 25th, and then the third contact is legitimately March 27th. Those are the true dates of these events. But it's not going to sound like that at all when you listen to this interview.
Did you mean to say March 26th?
March 25th and March 26th.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, I didn't say that right. You're right. Okay, yeah, I apologize. So hopefully that helps a little bit, Liam. I know it's just as confusing, when we try to unpack all of it, because it's so twisted. And yes, the story was, we believe, fed to her, and you can judge for yourself. This is another instance where Rocky Gregory interviews an accuser 2 different times, but didn't record the first interview, didn't get audio recording of the first interview. But we have audio recording of the second interview. He's good at that. Rocky Gregory's good at that. Either he claims that he didn't record one and just recorded the other, or if you want my opinion, I think he recorded all of them, but depending on what gets said in any given recording, he just doesn't provide that recording. That's just my opinion. And let's see. I'm just trying to address a few things. Yes, there were definitely most of the accusers, if I recall, maybe except for possibly Sherry Ellis. They're none of them are really sure when their alleged assault happened. So, no, and Rocky doesn't do he doesn't take any measures to clear anything up. In fact, he tries to twist to get it, to get her to say what he needs her to say. So, it's really hard to try to explain anymore. What I'm going to do is let me play this radio traffic first, just to prove to you that there were 2 different incidents where Daniel did call in a stop with Tabitha Barnes. The first one is going to be with Tabitha Barnes. This one's going to be at 12:06 or 12:14, something like that, a.m. on the first incident. And that's going to be with Angela Cooper, who was with her, an adult female. And then the second one that you'll hear will be, I believe, March 25th. So almost a month later. So I'll play those for you right now.
Tuesday, March 25, 2014, 22 hours and 47 seconds.
Charlie 45, go ahead.
Tuesday, March
25, Barnes, Baker, Adam, Robert, Noah, Edward, Sam. First name is Tabitha. Tom, Adam, Baker, Ida, Tom, Henry, Adam. Date of birth is 1/9/73, black female.
Okay, you said 19 of what year?
73.
22:01 and 20 seconds. 22:01 and 40 seconds. Tuesday, March 25, 2014, 22:02 and 0 seconds. Twenty-two 02 and 20 seconds. Twenty-two 02 and 40 seconds. Tuesday, March 25, 2000.
Charlie 45, stand by.
Charlie 45, go ahead.
To run. First sergeant's last name is Barnes. Baker Adam Robert Nora Edward Sam. First name is Tabitha. Tom Adam Baker Adam Tom Henry Adam. Date of birth is 1/9/73. Black female. Second sergeant's last name is Cooper. That's Charles Ocean Paul Edward Robert. First name is weird. Angelo Shante Nicole. That's Adam Nora George Edward Lincoln Ocean. Shante is Sam Henry Adam Nora Tom Adam Young. And Nicole's Nora Ida Charles Ocean Lincoln Edward. Date of birth is 9/4/78. Black female.
Charlie 45.
Go ahead.
Tabitha Barnes has 388 AW.
Tuesday, March 25, 2014, 22 hours and 47 seconds.
Charlie 45, go ahead.
Tuesday, March
25, last name is Barnes. Baker Adam Robert Nora Edward Sam. First name is Tabitha. Tom Adam Baker Ida Tom Henry Adam. Date of birth is 1/9/73. Black female.
Okay, you said 19 of what year?
73.
22:01 and 20 seconds. Twenty-two 01 and 40 seconds.
Okay, that I think I got the one call in there twice, so sorry about that. It was the same thing, but basically it's just there to show you that he had run Tabitha and Angela Cooper on the 27th at 12:14 a.m. or whatever it was, and then again on the March 25th that he ran Tabitha alone. So he did do the proper things that he was supposed to be doing, despite what some people believe. Kay, did you want to touch on any of that, or anybody on the panel, questions or comments on listening to those calls?
I don't. I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
All right. Okay, so this is a little bit of a lengthy video, but that's okay because there's going to be a lot of information that you're going to have a lot of questions about. So I'm just going to go ahead and start this. I'll be watching the chat, and of course, anybody, you know, for questions or comments, if I feel like we need to stop and explain something, then we will. And of course, anybody on the panel, if you need to stop, pause to ask a question or clarify something, we can do that too. So all that being said, here we go.
In the investigative timeline, it is August 14th, 2014, and Oklahoma City Police sex crimes detective Rocky Gregory is seeking what he believes to be our additional victims of then patrol officer Daniel Holtzclaw. Detective Gregory begins his official report of this date with the following notation. At 1400 hours, I went to try to locate Tabitha Barnes at her residence in the 1500 block of Northeast 15th Street. In looking at suspect Holtzclaw's record checks of females, Tabitha Barnes's name stood out. Also, initially, she matched a possible profile set aside by Lieutenant Musney. That profile is the quote-unquote list made by Lieutenant Musney that later will be denied to actually exist. According to Detective Gregory's report, he did locate Tabitha Barnes at her home in Northeast Oklahoma City. And, like with so many of the black females with criminal histories that he profiled, he began his conversation by stating, quote, I introduced myself and advised that I had a tip that maybe she had been the victim of an unreported sexual assault, end quote. We don't know if he added the words, by an Oklahoma City police officer, and we don't know that because Detective Gregory conveniently decides when he will and when he won't record his investigative conversations. We can only assume that he most likely did use those words and simply didn't bother to note it in his report. Why can we make that assumption? Because we already know he does use those words in all of his recorded interactions. Well, except those with young white bikini models living in Edmond, as I pointed out in the beginning of episode 10. Regardless, according to his report, Detective Gregory apparently has an entire conversation with Tabitha Barnes wherein she claims, quote, she was indeed touched inappropriately by an officer. Tabitha advised that an OCPD officer had been harassing her on more than one occasion, end quote. What happens next, especially when taken into context with the entirety of Detective Gregory's investigation, really concerns me, and it should actually concern anyone who values the integrity of criminal investigations. According to his official investigative report, upon Barnes's alleged admission of inappropriate behavior by Holtzclaw, Detective Gregory contacted Lieutenant Musney by phone and asked him to come to their location to sit in on the interview. However, what he allegedly doesn't do is bother to audio record any of what was apparently a long, very detailed, and very odd interview. According to Detective Gregory's report, Tabitha Barnes details an initial interaction wherein Holtzclaw allegedly made her expose herself and then allegedly touched her breasts. Barnes then begins to tell Detective Gregory and Lieutenant Musney about a second encounter with Holtzclaw. However, she apparently begins to nod off and can't even remain conscious. I'm guessing her speech probably was fairly erratic and unintelligible at this point. Detective Gregory notes in his report that they are unable to proceed with the interview and that they agree to leave and come back the following morning at 10 a.m. Gregory tries to downplay this as simply Barnes's reaction to prescription Ambien and the fact she claims to have been up all night taking care of her grandbaby. I'd be okay with giving Barnes the benefit of the doubt if it wasn't for the fact Detective Gregory conveniently claims he didn't record any of this interaction. And then later at trial, we find out that Barnes often smokes crack cocaine and then Barnes actually shows up to testify while high on PCP, a fact that was only confirmed when trial judge Timothy Henderson ordered Barnes to undergo a drug test on the spot. Regardless, when Detective Gregory returned the following morning at the prearranged time, Barnes was nowhere to be found. According to Gregory, he returned to Barnes's residence at least 5 times and called her contact numbers to no avail over the next couple of days. Finally, on August 17th at about 2:15 in the afternoon, Detective Gregory was able to locate Barnes at her home. Barnes claimed that she had caught up on her sleep and was able to continue with the interview. Unlike the first interview, Detective Gregory did record this interaction. The following is the complete audio recording of that meeting.
What is today's date? You know? 17th. It's Detective Gregory, Oklahoma City Police Department. I'm here with Tabitha Banks here in front of her Barnes. I'm sorry. Too many names. I apologize. Here at Northeast 15th. We're here to finish up our interview. We spoke briefly the other day, but we're going to go ahead and finish it today. Tabitha wanted to complete the interview. All right. Okay. On the, what is your middle name, Tabitha?
Jean.
Jean? G-E-N-E?
J-E-A-N.
Okay, all right. And your date of birth?
73.
Okay, what's your social?
445.
Okay, all right. Now, we had completed everything on the first incident, right?
Which place?
Right, where it was snow on the ground. You said it was the 4th, but you don't know what month. And that's where the stop was right here.
That was March.
That was March?
March 4th, about 12:30.
Okay. But that's the one we had already covered, correct? The other day when Lieutenant Musney was, and then you pulled into here and they ended up dispersing. He after everybody was gone, then that's when he had you lift your shirt up, and then he also lifted your breast, correct?
Yeah.
Everything that was the first incident,
That was the
correct?
first incident.
Okay. So that was March 4th, okay? And I will put that down, okay? You seem a lot more clear-minded today. The other day was pretty tired, wasn't you?
Oh, God, I had that baby. It cried too much. Took my Ambien. I was sleepy.
Well, I know. Yeah, you were pretty tired that day.
I took my Ambien. I was ready to go to sleep, but I was tired.
Okay. So I've got that part down pretty good, correct? He didn't touch you any other way except for lifting the breast that time. Okay.
Yes.
Now, we were getting ready to talk about the second incident.
The second incident,
How much later?
about 2 weeks.
2 weeks, okay.
I pulled up and someone had broken out my house. Therefore, my landlord hadn't fixed the door. The door was just open. When I pulled up, it was another guy. Well, I pulled on the side over here, and there was a guy in the grass. So that's what I thought the police was here for. No, he was him.
Was the police already here when you arrived?
Yeah, he was.
Where was he parked?
Right here.
Right.
Right in the middle of the street.
Okay. What time did you said this is 2 weeks later. What time of day are we looking at?
About 9:30.
About what?
It's about 9:30 at night.
9:30.
9:30.
Okay.
And he had been all in my house.
So when you pull up here, you parked over there.
Because I seen a guy laying out in the grass.
And the police was here.
And that's what I thought they was here for.
Okay. And you go where?
I get out the car. He called me by name in the grass and tell me to come in.
The officer?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the officer's standing outside.
When he see me pull up, he gets out his car. And I'm looking at the guy on the grass. And he called me by my name, tell me to come in.
What's he call you by?
Tabitha. I'm like, what is it now? And he said, you got drugs on you? I said, why do you keep asking me, do I have drugs? If I had drugs, something was cut off my gas. So if I sold drugs, do you think I'd be in a cold house waiting on DHS to pay my rent? Pay my gas bill? But let me talk to you again. So a guy friend of mine was over here, and he was asleep. Well, he was all in my house. He said, I just walked all through your house. Da-da-da-da. I was like, okay, you didn't see nothing in my home, illegally. Why do you keep harassing me? Or get in the car. That's when they get in the car. Told me to get in the car again. So I got in the back seat. And he told my daughter, I said, you scaring my child. Me? I said, yeah, you. So he told Tabitha Barnes to come here. He said, am I scaring you? She said, yes. Why do you keep bothering my mama? Because I talked to my girls. And I told her what happened. Well, he was like, ask me again. Do you got anything on you? I said, no. Asked me to raise up my shirt again. I done it. Which I didn't have them wrong at the time.
You did?
I didn't.
Didn't? Okay.
Asked me, did I have anything in my pants? And I said, no. He asked me, let me see. And I just did. He didn't put his hands in it. I just did like this. I had on some leggings. And he just, said, open your leggings. And that's when there was a $20 bill in the back seat. And he was like, you didn't take my money, did you? I said, take your money for what? I didn't even notice the $20 until he said something. So I looked, and there was a $20 bill in the back seat. Ran my name again. Like, when you gonna take care of your tickets? I said, me and my father's working on it. He let me go again. 2 days later.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there, okay? Because I wanted you to run down through it to have a clear mind, okay? Now I'm going to back you up on that one. I want to cover everything, okay? The more you cover with me, hopefully you won't have to cover this, later on unless you want to, okay? That's my game plan. Okay. Now, I do know it's 2 weeks after March, so we're still in March. It's 9:30 p.m. You park over here on Jordan.
On the side of the house.
And he is parked here.
In the middle of the street.
Here on Northeast 15th.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Who is with you in the car?
Me, my 11-year-old, and my son.
Okay. Your 11-year-old is who? Is that
Ariana.
Ariana. Okay. And your son?
Marcus.
How old's Marcus?
He's 7.
Okay. All right. So he says, come here. Where, you said there was a guy in your grass?
Yeah, just laying there. And I'm like, you over here harassing me. Why you want, who is this? Who is this? What's going on? Well, no, I'm thinking something wrong with the guy. He kicks the guy, told him to get up and move on. Didn't ask him his name. What's wrong with you? You need an ambulance? Nothing. Kicks the guy, get up, move on.
And the guy moves?
Mm-hmm.
What did the guy look like?
I don't know. It was like there's so many people be up and through here. I don't know. I didn't even know the guy.
White guy, black guy?
Black. He was black.
Okay, but unknown. Okay. So that guy moved on.
Yeah, walked that way.
So he moved northbound here on Jordan. Okay. All right, but he tells you to come here. Does he sit you in the police car?
Yes.
Okay.
In the back seat.
Okay. Okay, and your kids are still in the car?
No, they got out. We're standing in the yard.
Okay. Okay. Now this is the part where I'm going to really slow down. He takes you, puts you in the car, back seat. What side were you on?
His side.
Okay, so you're on the driver's side. Okay. What's he do next? As soon as he says, come here, puts you in the back seat, did he already search you?
No.
Okay, so he sits you down.
He always put me in the back seat.
Okay. And what's he say?
Asked me the same thing.
What did he say?
Do you take care of your tickets? I said, I'm working on it. Then that's when he asked me, you got drugs on you? And that's when I say, if I sold drugs, my gas wouldn't be out. I wouldn't be waiting on DHS to help me pay my bills.
So you said no on the ticket?
Yeah,
okay.
no.
Let me catch up on my notes, okay? I'm sorry, I'm a slow rider. You're doing good, Tabitha. for the electric? Is that what you told me?
My gas.
Pay for gas. Okay. All right. What's the next thing he said? He says, "You got any drugs?" You tell him about
Yeah, that's what it.
they're paying the gas. Okay, I got that.
He said, "Could you let me? Can I see?" I said, "That's what I said." I think I said again, "Why you always coming over here by yourself and it ain't nobody, a lady detective with you? Why do you always want to see me, and you by yourself?" Now I went ahead and did it again. He's like,
Now, is this before he talked to your daughter?
Before he talked to Ariana.
Okay. So the kids are where?
Standing in the yard.
Okay.
And she was standing there.
So why by yourself? What does he say after you ask him why you always by yourself? Trying to see me.
He didn't really say nothing. He didn't comment on it. He was like, I want to say, he said, "I'm doing you a favor." Or what?
Okay.
And
what's he say?
I can remember.
What's he say or do next? After you confront him about?
He get out his car. He get out the front seat, open up the back seat, and he was like, "Before I let you out, I gotta check you."
Did he already run you yet?
Yeah, I was sitting right there when he ran me.
Okay, so he would run you during this time period. Was it over the radio?
Yes.
Did he pull you up on the screen?
I didn't look at I know he was messing with the screen, but I could hear the lady that ran back, told him that I had the ticket.
Before I let you go, he said what?
You asked me again, do I have drugs on me? I said no. And that's when he was saying, "Well, I'm about to check you." And I raised my shirt up. He looked.
Hang on, I'm about to check you?
I'm gonna have to check you.
Did he tell you to raise your shirt, or what?
Yes.
How did he say it?
Lift your shirt up. And I did like this. I said, "I don't have nothing on me." He said, "You got anything in your
So
pants?"
it wasn't the whole belly thing? It was all the way up?
Yeah.
So he lifted all the way up? Because that's what he had you do before?
Yeah. It's like it was the same routine.
Let me ask you this, Tabitha. Did you go to the belly, or did you just automatically go up?
Just automatically go up.
Automatic. Okay. So you had no bra on, correct?
Not that time. The first time I did.
First time you did have a bra? Oh, I thought you said the other day you did not have a bra.
The first time I had a bra on because I lifted it up.
Uh-huh.
Lifted the bra up, and it wasn't good enough for him. That's when he lifted up my breast. This time, I know I didn't have no bra on.
On the first time? But he picked up your bare breasts.
Okay. I had it because I just did like this with my shirt and my bra.
And then he had you expose them.
Yeah.
So you had to pull your bra up over your breast on the first time?
And with my shirt.
Is that correct?
Yes, with my shirt.
I'll make that correction in my report. I misunderstood you. I didn't think you had a bra on that first time. So you did have a bra. He just had you pull it up, and then he lifts it up. Okay, this time you had no bra, so your breasts are exposed. And what's he say?
"You got anything in your pants?" I said no. And he was like, he just kept looking at it, and he was like, "Let me see." And I had on leggings to tights, and I pulled them out, and he just looked. He's like, "Okay, I'm gonna let you go this time." Then he said, "I'm gonna let you go this time." I said, about 2 weeks later.
Hang on one second. Okay, so this time he did not touch your breasts.
He just looked.
And he did not touch your vagina.
No.
Okay, so no touching.
The second time.
Okay, but you mentioned earlier that this is where you saw the $20 bill.
That second time I seen a $20 bill in the back seat.
What did he say about the 20? He said something.
He said, "Don't touch. Make sure my $20 is back there." And I was like, "What?" I said, "No." I said, "I had $20 too, because I had it in my bra." The time I had it in my bra, it's in my hand. I know I had $20. I was like, "Hold up, I got $20 too." And then I looked in the bag and there was a $20 bill in his back seat. I said, I didn't touch your $20.
What do you say you
And
had
I said,
$20 for?
That's what I said. I said, and what's the $20 for? He said, I got my reasons. Got my reasons.
So that was his 20 in the back.
And when I got out, it remained in the same spot in the back seat.
Where was it back there?
In the middle.
Right in the middle? Could you see it when you sat down?
Well, I wasn't looking, but when he mentioned it, when I got out, I looked.
Yeah, you could see it.
And I looked and I seen it.
Okay, so
he came back.
hang on one second, Tabitha. You said so he never did have your kids go inside, right?
Yeah,
on the second time?
Yeah, he said she's okay. You can go in.
You said something about scaring the kids, and
I told him. I said you keep frightening my kids. You keep coming over here, and he told her to come here. And he's like, she's okay. I'm just talking to her about some things. Y'all can go ahead and go in. My thing is, okay, he went in my house for no reason, was not called to go inside my home.
he said he was already in there?
He told me this.
Who was inside?
Terry Williams.
Who's Terry Williams?
An ex-friend of mine.
How do I get a hold of Terry?
He in Loudon. I'll give me your number.
Okay, can you give me his number too?
He lost that phone, that's why I said give me your number. But he was asleep. He was sleeping in the house. He said that because I told him what happened, what he made me do. He was like, you can do something about that. I said, now who's gonna believe me over a police officer's word?
But he tells you he was inside and Terry was there?
Yes, he was asleep. Terry was asleep in my home.
So he knew he was asleep.
And he knew it.
And he said,
I've been all in your house. I said, for what reason? I said, you just walking out. I said, okay, you been in my house, okay. So I'm not hiding nothing. Nothing's in my home. This is what got me. I want to say the next day, it seemed like he made it. He just came on duty.
Hang on, Tabitha. I know you want to get on to the next deal. I just want to cover this. He said he was all up in the house and there was a guy asleep on the couch.
No, in the room.
In the room?
In the room. Terry said when he woke up, he woke him up with the flashlight in his face.
And what did he say? What did Terry say?
I asked him his name again. I guess ran his name.
Okay, I'm just looking at some of the questions in the chat. She's saying that he went in her house this night and nobody was there except her ex-boyfriend, who she refers to in her preliminary testimony as her associate ex-friend. Cherie and I have learned that these accusers refer to all of the people that they possibly do nefarious activities with as associates. None of them have friends. They're just all associates. And she refers to this guy, Terry Williams, as an associate. But he does admit or say during the preliminary as well that they were boyfriend and girlfriend. But the thing of it is that when Daniel went to the house that night and entered the home, he was driving by. He was patrolling, like he said he was going to do. He was patrolling, and when he drove by the house, the doors were wide open, and her car wasn't there. So, because of the burglary the month prior, he went in. He called this in. There was we cannot find the radio traffic of it, but I believe Daniel has said that he recalls a lot of the events of this particular accuser, and that he did go in, announced himself, went in because he was making sure. Well, he had probable cause basically because of the prior burglary at the home. And he did wake up Terry Williams, who was sleeping in Tabitha's child's bed. And so he did go in to the house that night. Kay said she has heard the radio traffic, but she couldn't find it. You can speak, Kay. You don't have to put it all in the chat. But anyway,
He
that I
just
just wanted
told
to
in that he was doing a sweep.
a sweep. That's what it was. Yes, because of the prior burglary. So it was legitimate. And but the way she's saying it is making it just seem so much more nefarious than what it actually was. So I just kind of wanted to explain that. Yes, he did go into the house and sweep the house, and he found Terry Williams in there. Tabitha was not home at the time, but he did find Terry Williams. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Left out, but who knows how long he was in the house.
Okay, so Terry, do you know how to Terry Williams? Okay.
Yeah, who knows?
He said he ran him.
Yeah, and Terry said, because we had an incident when we call him Shorty. Shorty and his friend get off when they get off of work. They would come over here and chill with me when they got off of work. And Jesse, I don't know Jesse's last name, but I can get it. When they got off work, they were sitting right here. I mean, he pulled Jesse out the truck one day, told him he had on makeup, that he was gay. They had just got off work. I mean, would just come here, I don't know what his thing was.
You talking about the cop?
Yeah.
Okay.
Told him he had on makeup, that he was gay, and all kind of stuff. Oh, okay. Nothing. They came back because, okay, we're going to rewind that because after he made me, the ice cream situation was waiting to go get ice cream. I want to say 3 days or something later, a guy broke in my home, and there we was having a slumber party, so it was a lot of girls. I have more kids.
Before this time that we just talked about?
Mm-hmm. Okay. And he was one of the officers that showed up out of probably 10.
But nothing happened that day?
No, he kept asking me, where's all the girls that was in the house?
But that day that their slumber party thing, he didn't do anything to you?
That's when he started coming afterwards. That's when he started coming.
So, slumber party.
We went to eat.
Lots of kids?
Yeah, a lot of girls. It was the girls.
But there was more cops.
Yeah, because I had to call him for the break-in. But he...
Is everybody's head spinning yet in the chats? Are your heads just spinning right now? As much as I've listened to this and read over all the police reports and different things, it's impossible to keep up with her. Impossible. She cannot get the story straight. And I would say that's because all the story is a lie. It's just all lies. That's just, she's talking about this big slumber party. Well, that alleged slumber party was either February 27th when they were getting ready, and you're just now hearing about going to get ice cream. That's what the claim was, is that on the 27th at 12:06 a.m. that they were sitting in the car letting it warm up so they could go get ice cream, waiting for the food stamps to roll over. But she claims that was March 4th. So her food stamps, that could have been legitimate because food stamps would have rolled over for the B last names on the 5th of the month. But we know it wasn't March 5th, at least not the story she's telling. We know for a fact that that's February 27th at 12:06 a.m. and food stamps weren't dropping at that point. But she's claiming that there was a big slumber party that night, but it was really Tabitha, her friend Angela Cooper, and her oldest daughter Zion, and Zion's friend Kiara. those were the girls that were in the slumber party, plus her younger daughter and her younger son. But then she's flipping it now, and we're hearing about this slumber party having taken place on March 25th. This slumber, when she's talking about that was the night the house was broke in and she had to call the cops, that was the same day as the 27th. That was February 27th. So she has this whole thing so fucked up, and so because she's high, most likely, or coming down, and she's making up this story on the go, on the fly. So it's very difficult to try to follow where she's going. This slumber party where she's making it sound like he asked for, well, where are all the little girls? That was not a thing, that there was a slumber party with a lot of little girls. So we'll get back to it.
Scene, I guess everybody was in the house. They was all little girls.
And then this other time was days later. That's when he had you sit in the car.
Yeah, he asked me about that. He was like, "Where's all?"
He said he was all up in your house.
Yeah.
Did he say anything specific about your house?
No, he was just like, "I was all in your house." I said, "Well, why would you be in my home? I didn't call you. You should be taking care of the guy that was on the ground."
Was Terry a boyfriend or what?
Yeah.
Okay. So he was in your bedroom.
Actually, my son's room sleep.
Okay. Make sure you get me Terry's name, okay? Or his phone number, pass on. I need to get a hold of him. Okay. So this next thing, so he didn't touch you on that, but then the next time, how much later are we? Let's go to this.
This is when it ended. He came over.
How much later?
The next day.
So 2 weeks plus a day.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I want to say like a month ago he came too, but I didn't open the door. I was looking at him through the window.
Was he in uniform?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 2 weeks. So it was the very next day.
Okay, he came and I opened up the door. I was cooking and I didn't know what to do, so I called my mother in Texas to let her listen. Because he would always ask me for my phone. Every time the first times, but I was in my house this time.
But this is the next day after he sat you out here in his car.
Came over here and he was like...
About what time?
But I knew his hours too, about 4:30.
4:30 during the day.
He had to just come on duty because you could smell his cologne, and he didn't look like he had just, been out. He ain't been out. He looked like he just came on. Okay. So
he goes to the door, he knocks.
Knocks hard.
So for future reference, at least in Oklahoma City, TJ, if you want to know when an officer has come on duty, just pay attention to whether or not you can smell their cologne and the way they look. Because apparently you can tell they've just come on duty if their cologne is nice and fresh and strong, I guess. And if they look like they've just come on duty, that's how Tabitha knows that he was there at 4:30 on this other day.
What she said just before that was, I knew what time he worked.
Yeah.
And then he must have just come on duty because his cologne.
She could smell his cologne. Smell his cologne, and he looked like he just came on. Okay.
His hair was freshly spiked, I guess.
Yeah. I think she's,
We'll hear about that in a minute.
Yeah, I was going to say, we'll leave that one alone for a second. Okay.
My brother was here then, Danny Brown.
You said you called your mother?
I called my mom on my phone. I was already telling her that I was tired of him, wanting to see my body, and I didn't know what to do about it. My mother lives in Texas.
Okay.
So he said...
You opened the door.
I opened the door.
Okay.
He was like, "What are you doing?" I said, cooking dinner for my kids. He said, can I come in? I said, no. So you're not gonna, I need to come search your house for drugs. I said, you want to come search my house for drugs? I said, I don't know where you're getting your information from, but it's the wrong information, first of all. I said, second of all, you just told me you was all in my house last night. If if everything was in my home, you would have seen it then, was my point. So he said, so you're not going to let me in? I said, no. He said, who here with you? I said, me and my kids. I didn't even tell my brother was with me. I said, me and my kids. And he was like, so you're not going to let me in? I said, no. He said, all right. He started talking. I don't know what he mumbled under his breath. What he mumbled under his breath. And he was like, I'm helping you. I'm doing you a favor. You haven't paid your fucking tickets. And I heard him say that. He said, I'll be back. I was like, okay. And that was in May. So May 1st, my mom had a heart attack.
So this is, wait. You said the first incident was March 4th. You said 2 weeks later was this incident. And that would still be in March.
So I said in May, In May, I left like May 1st.
Oh, you
and
left.
I never seen him again. And
where did you go? Down to your mama's?
Yeah, I left for 3 months.
Okay, and that was the last time you actually had any dealings with him?
Face to face.
Okay.
When he wanted to come in, what reason, I don't know.
Okay. Let me kind of cover this just a little bit more. Okay.
She said when he wanted to come in, for what reason, I don't know. Well, you just finished saying he told you he wanted to come in and search your home for drugs. So you do know, you liar. You fucking liar.
He also doesn't know what he mumbled under his breath, but then she tells you that you need to pay those effing tickets.
Yeah. She did hear him say that, she says.
That's interesting because that's not, Daniel didn't cuss. I mean, I should say Daniel doesn't cuss, although I have heard him cuss since he's been in prison, but whatever. That wasn't his character. That just wasn't, he was religious. He didn't talk like that. It's just ridiculous.
And you can just go back to his interrogation video and see how uncomfortable he was with the way Kim and Rocky were, the way they were speaking to him, with penises and vaginas and boobies and hoo-haws and, that he was so uncomfortable with that. And he's been in prison now for 7 years. So of course he's, it's a part of becoming institutionalized, but yeah, I just, to say something like the way she claims he said it is just way out of character for Daniel. So, but I love this one from Andrina. Is Rocky holding up flashcards for her to give her answers? That's pretty fucking funny.
I'm sure they've talked about a lot of the buzzwords and phrases in the first unrecorded interview.
Yeah. Yes, that's when all the coaching really took place. And then this particular interview that's recorded, he's having to, like, you're hearing him, now stop right there. I want to go back. That's when he's like, oh, you're off script. Let's go back. So, okay, we'll go back.
First time was March 4th. That's where he had you lift your shirt and your bra. And that's where he lifted up your breasts.
Yeah.
Kind of about where we're parked a little bit right now.
Right here.
There's a call at your house. This is in reference to the break-in. He comes with other officers. There's dealings with a slumber party, but he doesn't do anything to you then.
No.
Okay, because there's other officers.
Yeah, I wasn't my own self when I told you know, the man that broke in my house, we actually held him down until the officers got here.
Is he the main officer on that call? Okay. Then it was 2 weeks after the first incident. That's when he pulls you back here. He has you lift your shirt all the way, and then he has to see down your pants. Could he see your vagina on the second time?
Yeah.
Did you had on what color leggings?
I had on black leggings with no panties. Where I didn't have no under.
Did he know you didn't have any underwear?
Not at the time. You know, and I'm sure he didn't.
Okay.
Until,
and going along with that, he has you pull. How does he ask to see you got anything down your pants?
I did like this. No, I don't. He said he had his flashlight.
Oh, he was looking down.
Yeah, he had his flashlight. I said, no, I do not.
So you just flipped it out?
Yeah.
And then, does he say anything when you flip it out?
He never said nothing, but
Okay. Was your legs faced out here?
No, they were still in the car.
Okay. Okay. So then you had your. But he didn't touch you. It was lifting the shirt. Okay. What kind of a shirt did you have on then?
I wear a lot of t-shirts, so it's probably like a white t-shirt.
Okay.
Basically, because I wear a lot of t-shirts.
Okay. Could your kids see any of this?
No.
Were they out there?
I think Ariana was on the porch, but...
Did he ask to see your breasts or touch your breasts?
When?
On the second time.
No, he just asked me to raise my shirt up. Asked me did he always say, "Do you got drugs on you?" And I would say no. I don't know where you getting your information. He was like, well, I'm gonna have to check you. Can you raise your shirt? I mean, just like he would ride by my house every day. I got to the point where I wouldn't even come outside. Like I would, because I didn't want him messing with me. I would just watch him do other girls like that outside. I would look out the window.
What do you mean?
They could be walking and he could be just stop them randomly.
Do you know of anybody that he's done this to?
I don't know nobody over here. So I would call my daughter. I'd be like, look, he doing it to them. And I seen him once before.
But you don't know a name?
Don't know no names. And he would let them go all the time. And once again, he couldn't. I don't know what happened, but I was seeing him. Every time I seen him stop anybody, it was a female. I seen him stop someone at the Northeast 16 store.
I want you to describe him again to me. Make sure I got it.
About 6'1", okay. Probably 6'2".
You said he was what race?
He's white.
Color skin?
White skin. Like a tan color, like an Indian tan color to me. Not dark, but he wasn't pale.
Okay.
Tall guy.
What would he wear?
Broad shoulders. He would always have his hair I guess he would do it with hairspray.
What color hair?
Like a brown in it. Brownish, light browns, and they will be spiked up in the front.
What do you think he'd weigh? Because the other day you said he was really built.
He is up here, like a stocky build to me. He probably hitting about 230.
Anything else about him?
He was young. He wasn't an older guy. He was probably, I say, in his 30s, 34. Might be younger than that, but he wasn't like in his 40s or nothing like that.
And never caught his name?
No, I never got his name. I just would tell my mom and my family, like, it was just like, it's something you can do about it. I'm like, they're not going to believe me. He was a young guy. He wasn't older. He looked like a rookie. I mean, I watch movies. I know he wasn't your age, you know, old school guy, no.
See any scars, marks, tattoos?
No, but if you showed me a picture, I bet you I could identify him. Because he would come over here, just come. I mean, drive through constant.
Sorry, I was trying to pause quicker, but he says, oh my gosh, I completely lost Kay. You know what I was going to say.
I don't know. I was trying to remember what kind of car he drove.
Let's see.
What the newer model car is. Oh my gosh, what the hell?
Ford Interceptor. I was going to make a comment about something. He drove the Ford Interceptor, Liam, the new ones. They were new to Oklahoma City at the time. I can't remember what I was going to comment for you guys to pay attention to. I backed up just a little bit. I'll see if, let's see.
He wasn't your age, you know, old school guy, no.
See any scars, marks, tattoos?
No, but if you showed me a picture, I bet you I could identify him.
That's what I was going to say. I knew that would remind me. So she says, no, but if you show me a picture of him, I know I can identify him. Well, if you've forgotten or you never heard this, but nobody was ever shown a lineup or a six-pack of any officers except for Tabitha Barnes and Terry Morris. And Terry Morris didn't specifically pick out Daniel in that six-pack lineup that they showed her. After that, they would ask, if I showed you a picture, would you, if I showed you a lineup, do you think you could point him out, or showed you a picture? And most of them would say yes. Yeah, let me see a picture. I can pick him out.
Of course they can pick him out.
Yeah.
He's had contact with them every single time they used his damn GPS records to create these cases. Of course they can pick him out. Especially Tabitha Barnes. I mean, he's been watching her house. He's been stopping people that come and go from her house. It's a known drug house. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad they didn't show him lineups because that'd just be even more damning. It wouldn't be fair. I mean,
it wouldn't.
Nothing was fair, but
I just think that because they didn't get what they were hoping or expecting with Terry Morris, I think there was a caution of, because it was brought up in trial and in predetermination, if I'm not mistaken, that why weren't pictures or lineups done? And Kim Davis allegedly had made the statement that no, we're not doing any more lineups. So I don't know, but yeah, it would have been used against him for sure. I agree with Kay, but I think they were just being overly cautious. And if they were so sure that assaults had taken place and that Daniel had done it, I would think they would have been flashing his picture every time they walked in. You know this guy? You seen this officer before? But they didn't. Okay, we're a little getting closer to being done.
because he would come over here and just come. Drive through constantly.
You said it was a new car he was driving?
He usually came in that little Z20. I don't know if I know my cars, but like the new one, the new black and white.
Is it black and white or all black?
All black, and got police on it. And the last stop he made, I can't quote what date it was, but he was in the older car, and I was trying to do a little searching on him, and
So the second time he was in an older car?
the last time he came, and I didn't open the door. I was looking out the window at him. He parked back by right here.
And he wanted to do what?
He came in one of them cars.
So he wanted to just, he wanted in your house.
That was the time he wanted in my house. That's the last face-to-face he seen with me. He wanted to come in. I said, come in for what? He said, to search your home. I said, search my home for what? You was just in here last night. Did I have any drugs laying around? Did you see any doobies in my house? I smoke cigarettes. I know you see nothing but cigarettes. I said, you seen no alcohol in my home, no alcohol bottles, no beer bottles, nothing.
You ever, okay. So he only touched your breast once, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You ever touch your vagina?
No, he just looked at it.
You ever have sex with you?
No.
Okay. You ever see his penis?
No.
Do you ever talk about having sex with you?
No.
Can you think of any other thing that I'm missing or anything like that?
No, that was about it with him. He just... And I was just kind of, when I had to move to Texas for that month to help my mom, that's probably what saved me with that man.
Okay. Was here for the first and second stops, correct? Okay, is she here?
Mm-hmm.
You think you could send her out so I could talk with her? Okay. See, I thought he originally had touched you on your vagina. I was going to get your buccal swabs because there's some DNA questions out there we have.
He put his hands.
He really did try. Rocky tried really hard to get her to say that he touched her vagina. He said it like 3 or 4 times.
They love to pile on the charges.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
He just did my breast.
Bare breasts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. If I have anything, I'll probably just swing by. So don't wig out if I come back by. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, I'll just talk with and I need your mom's number.
Okay.
And then I need that information to Terry as well.
Okay.
Okay.
With Tabitha Barnes' second interview completed, Detective Gregory next interviews Barnes' 11-year-old daughter. Out of an abundance of caution, I have decided to redact Barnes' daughter's name. When referencing the daughter in the future, I will simply refer to her by the alias Jamie, which is not her real name. The following is the audio recording of Detective Gregory's interview with Jamie in his vehicle while parked in front of Barnes' home on Northeast 15th Street.
Hey. Let me send this. Hey, I'm Detective Gregory. I was kind of the ugly guy here the other day sitting in the car with your mama. Okay. All right. Now you correct? Mm-hmm. All right. And Tabitha, that is your mother, correct? How old are you? 10. Okay. What's your date of birth?
03.
What's month and day? Okay. This deal in reference to the officer. Okay. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you know about the situation? What have you seen for yourself to happen?
That he was asking my mom to show her body, and then he kept sitting right here in front of our house. Then he kept asking him, "Why you coming here? Why you coming here?" And then my auntie said, "Cause I'm living with her right now." And then he said, "Oh," and then he keep coming back. He just kept coming back for no simple reason. Then when we was gone, he came in our house. My stepdad was in the bed asleep, and then my stepdad said he came in the house while we was gone. And then we was about to go get some ice cream, and he pulled us over for no simple reason. We all had on seatbelts. The tag was right. My mama, she didn't have license, but the person that was driving, they had license.
Okay. And I know that there's different times, and just so I'll be clear, I think in my mind, is that when there was snow on the ground?
No.
When they pulled into the driveway? How many times have you seen this officer yourself? Forget about what you've heard. How many times have you seen him, just yourself?
Like 4 or 5 times.
Where have you always seen him at?
Right here, where you parked. He always just sit right here.
Since when was the first time you ever saw him? And this is August.
About March.
Okay. Let me ask you this, and this is, I know what you've heard. The story that you just told me, I'm sure that your mama told you that, correct?
My mom told me what?
About what happened?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, so I'm just trying to get what you actually saw, okay? With your own eyes and heard with your own ears, okay? Did you ever see him do anything, touch your mama badly?
No, I only heard her say that he asked her to see her breasts, and he kept saying, I would like to see those.
What else did your mama say?
That's all she told me.
Did your mama say anything that he did touch him?
Yeah.
All right, but you never did see him actually touch her.
I saw him like try to touch her arm, and then she was just like yanking away.
Okay. But not anywhere else besides the arm?
No.
Okay. Okay. You ever tell you to go inside the house or anything?
Yeah.
How many times?
Like every time he come.
How many times do you have your mama sit in the back seat of the car?
Every time he comes, he was like, last time he said, tell her to sit in the front. She said, I'll just sit in the back.
But you've always seen him here at this house. What'd this officer look like?
Yeah, spikes.
What do you mean?
He had spikes in his hair.
What color hair?
It was like grayish. It was grayish, and he was buff a little bit.
About how tall?
I can't.
But he was buff. Do you know what he'd weigh? Okay. Do you know how old he'd be? But you've seen him 4 or 5 times here. Okay. Did your mama ever tell you anything else besides the breast stuff?
No.
Okay. Okay. I think that's really all I needed. Smash with your mama. Thank you.
Okay, that was painful. Really painful. Hey, JD, great to see you. So Andrina says she thinks this is where the name Spike comes from. So, the reason that we are mentioning, Kay has mentioned it in the chat about the name Spike, because it was said one time by Tabitha. One time she said he had spikes in the front or something to that effect. And then we heard her daughter Ariana say the same thing, that he had spikes in his hair. Well, I'm going to show you why that's a big deal. Let me this will just be a screen share. This is from Rocky Gregory's police report. We're going to start right back here. I think Kay said in the chat earlier or mentioned it about the date of these events. So let me see if I can share this with you guys effectively. So if you look at the date, this is the first page of Rocky Gregory's report on Tabitha Barnes. This took place on this interview took place on August 14th of 2014. If you look,
can you blow that up any?
More? Yeah, let me. Think. Or maybe. Oh, it's not. It's just blowing up the. It's not blowing up the page.
Okay, that's all right.
Let me do this. Go back. And then what is happening? Okay, this is the beginning. All right, let me see if I can try it again. That doesn't. It won't. It just blows up the whole page, not the report. Anyway, if you wanted to go ahead and. I don't know why it's going forward. I'm pushing back, yet it's going forward. So anyway, it says, yeah, I wish I could get it to go bigger. Well, what I can do, let me do this. I can do this. This I can make bigger. It's not Brian Bates's copy, it's mine, but I kind of point out the same thing as well. So let me share this instead. Let's see. So what is kind of interesting, and Kay will be able to explain this for you much better than I. Oh, I'm closing all the wrong stuff. I'm not a fan of screen sharing anymore like I used to be, because this other way is so much better. Okay. Another window. Okay, here we go. Okay. So this is my copy of the OCR, but I had also pointed out the same thing. This interview, this reported date is how they call it, was August 14th of 2014. Rocky Gregory reports it as August 15th of 2014. And down here, he says on 3/15/2014, follow the lead to reference to finding a victim of sexual assault. I came into contact with VI victim Tabitha Barnes, who advised on 2 separate occasions she was the victim of a sexual crime by the same subject. The first incident was found to be on 2/27/14 for sexual battery. The second incident happened on 3/25/2014 for indecent exposure. Both incidents occurred at her address. So now Brian Bates says here he believes this is just a simple typo. And I mean, I can't think of any other way to explain it either. So it is most likely just a typo on there. But it's also interesting that down here, we spent a lot of time looking at this kind of stuff. Down at the bottom, the reporting officer was Rocky Gregory. And he says that he typed this up on 8/15/2014 at 2 p.m. And I don't know. We're just not sure that, maybe he did type it up on the 15th. Or maybe he's just getting his dates confused. And Kay has talked about this before, but I would like her to explain again about how he had dumped all of his reports and stuff on Musney. And so, because he was going on vacation, although by this time he's already been back from vacation, though, right, Kay?
Yeah, I mean, this investigation didn't happen until after he got back from vacation. They knew they were going to talk to her, I guess. But yeah, when he went on vacation, he put all of his reports and everything, he sent them via email to Lieutenant Musney to work on while he was gone. While he was gone, he also gave Sherry Ellis' case to Kim and Valerie to work on. So, I mean, he must have had a trip planned that was paid for, and there wasn't a way. I know from some photos I've seen, he and his wife took a trip to Hawaii, but I don't know when that was. It could have been this. So it wasn't something that he was obviously going to be able to change. But the investigation needed to be going full steam ahead, because I think really the district attorney, the chief of police, I think everyone was concerned about how patient the community, and the Black community specifically, was going to be with them not charging Holtzclaw and arresting him right away. And so they're just, Giger and Prater, ADA Giger and DA Prater, initially said they were going to file charges, but then when all the results came back from Elaine Taylor from the lab, and they couldn't find a match to the DNA, and Janie Ligon's SANE kit exonerated Holtzclaw. No, none of his, only Janie Ligon's DNA was in her own mouth and around her mouth. So when all those things happened, the district attorney's office kind of put the brakes on charging right away and said, hey, find more victims. So we're in this period of time right now where everything is happening at once. They're investigating Florine Mathis. They're investigating Carla Johnson. They're investigating Tabitha Barnes. And they're and Holtzclaw's about to be arrested. He gets arrested on the 21st. So they've told these detectives, give us the blue sheets, which are the documents that they make charging decisions upon. And so they're just trying to get this paperwork done quickly, because if you go back into the first part of the investigation and look at Rocky Gregory's reports, he does not write a report the day after he interviews someone. There are none of those. You know. Anyway, that's not exactly what you asked me to explain, but I think you asked me that because I said that yesterday and then realized that, oh wait, he was back from vacation. So
Yeah.
they were just trying to get all their paperwork in order so that they could get him into custody.
Hey, before I forget, and this will happen. She said this during this interview with Rocky. By the way, I want to compliment Rocky. He seems very techno to me. He's got recordings out. He's got recordings going just no problem. And they're actually pretty clear. I mean the child's recording was not that great, but it's still clear.
Yeah.
Anyway, a little bit. It was actually towards the end of Tabitha's interview. She said that the last time that Daniel came, he was in an old police cruiser. Right? Did I hear that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What the? What the F-bomb?
Right.
Yeah. That's what we said. What the fuck?
You can always tell when a liar's lying because they just keep adding details. Just
Right.
add more details. And that's
Right.
she's done that throughout this whole investigation.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that I heard that right, and I was thinking to myself, okay, unless they've got records that Daniels was being serviced his car, and they gave him another one.
No.
But he had a new vehicle. I mean, come on.
No, his car wasn't being serviced. The last time he was without his car was, I think it was in 2013. He wrecked it, and he drove an old cruiser then. But yeah, he had not driven anything except the new all black with big white letters car.
The Interceptor.
Yeah, for any of these incidents with Tabitha Barnes.
There you go. That's what I thought.
Yep, you were right. So, what I'm going to suggest to you guys is to go to episode 11 of Bates Investigates holtzclawtrial.com and get on that homepage for episode 11 and look at Bates's he's done a lot of work. He's like really picked the police report apart, and look at that. And he's got notes in there of where he different things that he's going to explain. And so, but for now, and I haven't done all of it like I wanted to, of course, but I'll just take you through mine and where I've made notes. So I definitely made the same note. Now I highlighted this because this is August 15th and they don't know the date exactly yet, but they're going to be arresting Daniel in 6 days. I think six days from this. So it's like Kay said, they knew they were getting ready to arrest and they had to hurry up and get a bunch of stuff done and in. So this is where it kind of gives you the charges and related case numbers and all that stuff. But the one that I wanted that really bothers me is the indecent exposure. Again, he in the further in this report, she says, and he writes it in the report that Tabitha said that she showed her breasts herself because she just assumed that's what he wanted, that the cop would want, because she's had some contact with law enforcement for sure, and I'm going to show you that in a little bit too. At any rate, so this was an interesting thing that he also, it's a review of the summary, and I think by Musney, no, by Rocky. Review of the summary. This case was reviewed with Oklahoma County DA David Prater and ADA Galen Giger 1 count of sexual battery, 1 count of indecent exposure, and 1 count of breaking and entering was accepted against the defendant, Daniel Holtzclaw, for this case at hand. These charges will be filed in the Oklahoma County Court, and you'll, like I said, you'll be able to see all these details. I'm not going to go through all of this because it's just, there's 134 pages, and a lot of it's documents, but a lot of it is some really interesting, narration by Rocky Gregory. So this is really interesting wording. In looking at suspect Holtzclaw's records checks of females, Tabitha's name came about. Also, initially, she matched a possible profile set aside by Lieutenant Musney. So we were just wondering, what does set aside mean? What is how do you set aside possible profiles? We're just like really picking at it at that point, but it's just a weird way to say it. He says, I met with Tabitha at her residence, introduced myself, and advised that I had a tip that maybe she had been a victim of an unreported sexual assault. She advised she had was indeed touched inappropriately by an officer. So what did he miss here? Did he forget to put that his tip included a unreported sexual assault by an officer? Why is that just randomly in there by an officer? So I don't know. Then another thing we found interesting is, and I think I mentioned this before in another case, another accuser, Gregory says, I contacted Lieutenant Musney to come over to sit in on the interview. Why? And Kay has mentioned before, and I probably, after some thought, I agreed with her, but he probably wasn't called to come over and sit in on the interview. He probably was along with Rocky to begin with. But either way, especially to go to the extent to call Lieutenant Musney to come over and sit in on the interview, why? I don't understand what his reason is.
Hey, Rhonda, are you meaning to share the screen? Do you have the report up, or you're just reading from it?
Oh, was I not showing it? Holy
You're
crap.
not,
I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
I forgot to add it to the stream. I'm sorry. So yeah, that helps a lot, I'm sure. But it's just weird to me that they that Rocky always has to have Lieutenant Musney along with him whenever he's interviewing one of these accusers. I don't know. Maybe it's nothing, but that just seems weird to me.
Well, Rocky explains that first interaction, or he explains the first interview that was unrecorded as a brief interview. But then he says that in the middle of it, he calls Musney to come over, which, that's not very far from headquarters, but it's probably would take 7 to 10 minutes to get over there from headquarters by the time he gets out of the building and gets to the parking lot and whatever traffic is. A brief interview and he's halfway through, and then you're waiting on Musney to show up to hear the chart. Like Robbie said, I believe Musney was there the whole time, just like he was in the jailhouse interview with Terry Morris.
But the bigger question is why? Why does he need his lieutenant there to back up? I don't understand why that is. I don't know.
They're under a lot of pressure to get these accusers lined up, and Musney it's him. He's the one who's under a lot of pressure. He's been told, find more accusers, get the blue sheets in, do these things. So, they've got several accusers right now that they're in process of interviewing and trying to figure out what kind of charges they can come up with. But they haven't done what they've been told to do. I mean, they're not finished with it, and they can't. I mean, they are going to present Tabitha Barnes. The DA's office accepts charges on Tabitha Barnes before Rocky even files her police report. So what? What's
Yeah.
that?
It's just, yeah, it is. You can tell that you can sense the angst that's going on. That they're under a lot of pressure. And so anyway, he contacted Musney. Musney apparently came over or whatever, or was already there, who knows. Okay, this is where it started becoming so difficult to break this down, because the story, even as what's his face Rocky is telling it, narrating it, is still incomprehensible. I think that's the right way to say that. So Tabitha wasn't clear on the time period, but thought it was around March 2014. Well, you guys just heard her say, no, it was March 4th. We know it wasn't March 4th, but that's what she was. So for him to say Tabitha wasn't clear on the time period, no, she was giving you the wrong date, and that was giving you anxiety. And so you have to put it this way in your report, that she thought it was around March 4th. She clearly said March 4th. And then it says this was later noted as 2/27/14 in the midnight hour. And then a song comes to mind in my head.
She said it was March 4th around 12:30.
Yes, that's what she said. Exactly what she said. And then I hear Rebel Yell playing in the midnight hour. Tabitha remembered there was snow on the ground. Her daughter says there wasn't.
Yeah, he tried to get her daughter to say that, but she didn't.
Yeah. I mean, and there could have been. I mean, I've never lived in Oklahoma or been there in the wintertime, but I don't know if it's common to get snow, in the middle of winter.
Sure.
But okay, so there's snow there.
I mean, we could look up March 4th or February 27th, either one, and see if it was snowing.
Yeah.
I haven't done it.
That's true. And then she stated that she thought it was after midnight because food stamps for the month were in effect. And I told you guys earlier in this live that this is not true. Even if it was indeed March 4th, it could have been legitimate. But we know it wasn't March 4th. We know that it was February 27th. Her food stamps aren't going to fall in until 12:01 a.m. March 5th. So this was a lie, or she's just completely, unsure at all of what she's saying. But it's a lie. They're not sitting in the car waiting for food stamps to drop so that they can go get ice cream. They were in her green Saturn. Later in this report, if you read through all of it yourself, you'll find out from Angela Cooper, I believe, who was with them at this time, that it was a white 4-door sedan and not a green Saturn. Who knows? And then it says that Angela Cooper was driving, the 38-year-old, Zion Barnes and Ariana Barnes. As we've gone through this report and testimony at trial and preliminary, Ariana Barnes was not in that car. The people in the car at this incident at 2/27/2014 at 12:06 or 12:14, whatever it was Tabitha Barnes, Angela Cooper, Zion Barnes, and a friend of Zion's, Kiara Cooper, not related to Angela Cooper. So this was a lie again, or maybe she legitimately doesn't remember who was with her. And so it goes on. Now this, I want to talk to Andrina here because she's mentioned this a couple of times. So we only heard, I just want to get everybody to back me up or tell me if I'm wrong. There were only 2 times in that 40-minute interview or however long it was that we heard the nickname Spike. Tabitha Barnes said it first when she said, when she was describing him, and she said he had spikes in the front. And then her daughter said that he had spikes in his hair. And then she started talking about the color of the hair, which was completely off from what Daniel's actual hair color is. But those were the only 2 times that we heard in that interview. If you remember any other times than those 2, let me know so I can fix what I'm about to say. In this report written by Rocky Gregory, he says another police car, that he's narrating what Tabitha said, another police car pulled up along Jordan. Angela was taken out of the car by that police officer and placed into her car. I think it's supposed to be his car. The officer who was in back of them was the suspect, whom she has since nicknamed Spike. Okay. Due to his hair being spiked. I didn't hear her saying anything like that. That's just me. Then he says, Rocky says,
It's
Spike.
not just you.
Am I getting some responses in the chat?
No, I'm just saying it's not just you. It's not reported.
Yeah.
She didn't mention it in the second interview, which she would have if she had mentioned it in the first.
In the first, exactly.
I mean, ridiculous.
Yeah. So here he says, like he's repeating what Tabitha told him. Spike told the other officer he would take Tabitha. He had Tabitha sit in the back driver's side seat. His car was on Northeast, blah, blah, blah. The kids were told they could go inside, blah, blah, blah. The other officer let Angela go after a short period of time, and Angela also went inside. That officer left, and Spike was left alone with Tabitha. The kids came back outside and stood on the porch. Tabitha told him he was scarring her kids. I always have to read it scarring because that's how he spelled it, because he's an idiot.
I said you're scaring my kids.
I said you're scarring my kids. And then he says again, Spike told them to go back inside. Their mother was fine. The kids all went back inside. Spike had already ran Tabitha on his computer and the radio. She had small ticket warnings, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Spike, Officer Holtzclaw, was verified to be this officer, came back to the driver's side door. And it goes on and on and on and on. And this is like I said, 130 pages of narration and, supplemental police reports and everything else. So, I encourage you guys to go back and read Bates's
supporting documents.
Supporting documents. Thank you. So yes, Andrina, he made it up. After that, nobody said it except Rocky anywhere I can find. That is exactly right. He kept repeating that in the police report. I think I counted 6 or 7 times that he said that, when it was only said to him twice in an interview, once by Tabitha and once by the little girl, and neither one of them said that that's what they had nicknamed him.
Bates said he counted 15 times that he used the word.
Oh, did he?
That's what he said. I didn't go back and check it, but
I haven't gone back and counted. I just know that in that part, I counted 5 or 6 that I could see. So, yeah. So, and again, it just is now in the trial testimony. I believe that Tabitha does refer to him as Spike at trial, but that is, I can't help but think that is only because she was coached to do so. Otherwise, she would have been saying it all the time throughout this audio that we just listened to. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but it just seems to me like it's just another way of just making it sound like they were all so traumatized by Spike that Rocky had to keep putting it in the police report over and over. So yes, there was a second officer, and we have a report. Well, we don't have a report of him doing, after the stop. His name was Ivan Venegas, and he did show up. Daniel, made a radio call that he was out on two subjects in a vehicle, and he was solo. And so Venegas had just finished up another call, and he was close by, so he reported as backup for Daniel. And so that is all legitimate. And there's an interview that Rocky does with him over the phone, because he's on he's on paternal baby leave. His wife is getting ready to have a baby. And so he did a phone interview with him. And it's in this report. It's in Venegas. Venegas's interview is in this report. And so like you'll be able to read that when you go through all of the Bates's documents. So that's legit. He did not, I will tell you that Venegas said he didn't see anything untoward occurring, or he didn't see anything like that. And he left shortly after he released Angela Cooper from his vehicle. He left shortly after that. And then as far as he could recall, Daniel released Tabitha and was very close behind him, something to that effect.
But Daniel was holding back. That's why nothing happened.
Yes.
He was restraining himself.
Yeah, Cherie and I spent many nights working on maps and stuff a little over a year ago, making fun of a lot of these things that they say in this reports. So anyway, then let's see, what else did I want to, I wanted to bring that up. I wanted to point that out about Spike. There is Officer Holtzclaw told her, "Let me see." He didn't have a flashlight turned on, but at someplace else in the interview, we hear that he did have a flashlight turned on. So now
Ariana says that he shined his flashlight in the back seat of the car and saw pills on the floorboard.
Yeah.
And that would have been in the first interaction.
Yeah, the first interaction.
Going to get ice cream. Stop.
Well, and here's the other thing. Ariana was never in the car, ever in the car. So them getting an interview with Ariana, I mean, she is repeating everything she is repeating is what her mother has told her, because she was never in the car on the first incident or the second incident. So that's all a lie that Ariana, even the fact that she even had to answer questions to Rockhead is just ridiculous, because she was never there. But whatever. That comes out. You'll learn that later as you read these reports. But here, so nice. Daniel is like the most compassionate, caring, considerate sexual offender out there, because not only, he always is calling in the address where he's sexually assaulting these people. And, when he's taking them home from somewhere, he's calling that in and reporting mileage. And here, he says to Tabitha, when she chooses on her own to expose her breasts, he says, quote, "Do you mind if I lift them up?" End quote. I just bugs me the way that she says, or the way Rocky says that "Do you mind if I lift them up?" Hell yeah, I mind if you lift them up. I mind that you're even here talking to me right now. So, for just that little bit of politeness. So then, and Cherie and I made fun of this a lot. He then took both his hands, palms up, and lifted up each breast. He held up each breast, one in each hand. He then drops her breasts down and says, okay, I'm telling you what, nobody wants to hear this or know this, but somebody picks up my breasts and drops them down, it's going to be uncomfortable. So I'm just saying, for them to say that he just drops them, drops her breasts down and says, okay, come on. It just sounds so ridiculous to me. So let's see, what else did her estimate was way off. Tabitha said no one saw him, of course, I mean, how convenient, touch her breasts. He didn't do anything with her privates or touch her on her pants. Tabitha thought the stop was around 12:20 and was done at 1:05. She estimated this thing to go on for, what is it? What are we looking at? 40, 35 minutes maybe. And it was only about 15, well, I think it was 17 or 18 minutes, maybe, if that much, that the stop lasted. But it started at 12:06 a.m., not 12:20 a.m., but whatever. You say potato, I say potato. She says Tabitha advised there were 3 more events she wanted to speak about. Tabitha began to cry and became upset. Now, you guys couldn't know this from listening to that interview, but I'm telling you, maybe you could even gather it from the video that I showed at the very beginning. Can you imagine her getting upset and beginning to cry?
She's more indignant, She's not.
Yeah, she is not a crier. She is more of a, in fact, I can't. Another reason I find all of this so hard to believe is because there is just no way that think that somebody like Tabitha, somebody like me, would ever put up with a cop or anybody or a cop telling me, lift up your shirt, I need to see if you have drugs on you. Or, let me lift up, do you mind if I lift your boobs up? There's no way. I would go to jail before I would allow him to do that. I just would. That's just me, though. I don't know if I'm just a bitch or if most females I know would feel the same way. And I refuse to believe that any of those things have happened to Tabitha, that she would have let it go as easily as she claims she did. So, yeah. Liam says she got upset, then looked like she wanted to sleep. Let me just say, there is no proof or evidence anywhere that Tabitha Barnes has a grandbaby. I'm not saying she wasn't tending somebody's baby or whatever the day of this first interview, when she claimed she was so tired. She had her grandbaby up, and her that grandbaby cried all night, and she was so tired when the cops got there. She had just taken her Ambien before Gregory and Musney got there, and she was just so tired because of that grandbaby. I just am happy to call her a liar.
We don't know that, though, because she certainly has children old enough to have that she would have grandchildren, because
you're right.
She does have 6 children.
Yeah, and I'm not, that's what I'm saying. I don't know. I'm not saying that's a lie. I just find it a little, I find it a little unbelievable.
Yeah, I do too, that someone would put her in charge of a baby.
Yeah, well said. Very well said.
And that she takes Ambien when she's caring for a baby.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So all that was bullshit,
Yeah. Which is, and to me, it just all goes to credibility, and she has no credibility. I would be surprised if, one thing that she stated was actually true.
Rocky didn't mention anything about the reason that the first interview ended was because the baby was crying too much, as Tabitha stated in her interview.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it's just one lie after another. Let's see. We do have a little more time. So Kay, you're wanting to do a run through of Venegas and Angela Cooper's reports.
I mean, if you want to, I just think it's interesting to see how Rocky crafts these reports because he interviews these people. He's trying to make certain points to get his case to come together. And it seems like while he's writing the report, he forgets from which perspective he should be writing.
Yeah.
There are just a couple places in almost every single report, whether it's the guy that he interviewed who Tabitha claimed Daniel said was gay and wearing makeup, or whether it's Angela Cooper who was in the car with Tabitha Barnes on whatever on March 27th when Daniel rolled up on him and stopped him. And there was another one, I can't remember which it was, that we were reading through last night that was just ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, so, oh gosh, what was the guy's name that was stopped with Terry Williams? The guy that allegedly Daniel called gay and said he, made fun of him for wearing makeup. I can't remember his name.
Jesse Hawkins.
Huh? Hawkins?
Jesse Hawkins, I think.
Jesse Hawkins. Yeah. He didn't say anything like what Tabitha said he said. Nothing did he report to Gregory like that.
And Rocky didn't ask him that specifically.
No, he didn't.
Did Officer Holtzclaw say you were gay and make fun of you for wearing makeup? He didn't ask that question.
No, he didn't ask that question. The only thing he said was that he didn't say. Jesse Hawkins said he didn't say anything inappropriate. So I mean, I guess that's all subjective. But I'm looking as I'm rolling through this really quick. I'm seeing all the places now where Brian Bates said he sees the word spike used, and yeah, there's a whole bunch of places. So Terry Wayne, let's see, who were we going to? Oh, Venegas.
Oh, Terry Wayne Williams was an interesting one because did I miss it? Did they point out that he's a registered sex offender yet?
That was Bates talked about it, but
I don't think we had that part.
I think I might have cut that part out. So yeah. So let me share my screen again here really quick. Now that I know exactly where I'm at. Okay, so oops. I was already sharing it. Okay. Okay, let me explain this, Travis. So what I've been doing is trying to highlight comments on my screen in my chat because foul play you guys don't see the comments being made in my chat on my channel. So I'm trying to highlight them so that those that are watching from foul play can see what's being said in my chat and vice versa. Does that make sense? Yeah, so that's why. Oh yeah, Cherie's saying that there too. So that's why you're seeing things that I'm highlighting, but you're looking at the chat going, wait, I don't see that. That's why. Oh gosh. Yeah, that's confusing. Sorry. Okay, so Terry Williams, this is Terry Williams. I don't even know if does he even mention it? Does Rocky even say it in the report?
Say what?
About Terry Williams being a sex offender?
Oh no, not in the report.
Yeah,
no.
he doesn't say it in the report.
No, he doesn't that's not something he wants to highlight because
Right.
he would rather make it look like it's just completely ridiculous that Holtzclaw is harassing him.
Right.
He's not gonna give a reason for that to be happening, which that's valid reason.
Right. And
And
so, yeah,
Daniel
that,
did, go ahead.
oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
And Daniel did tell him he was gonna have contact with him every time he saw him.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you go back and listen to episode 11, I probably just cut out and I wasn't even thinking when I did that because we definitely wanted to point out that this man, Terry Williams, that's staying in Tabitha's house with her and her really it's only two children, the 11-year-old little girl and the 7-year-old little boy. Because Zion doesn't actually live with her mom. She lives with her dad and had happened to be visiting on the 27th with her mom, with her friend Kiara. So at any rate, this is a sex offender that lives with her in her home with her children or stays there, however you want to put it. You know, they make it sound like, well, she says it like he just says it sometimes, you know, it just does it. Just sometimes he sleeps over. But it's, you know, it's a little bit more so than that. So Daniel took some shit in trial from because he didn't arrest Terry Williams. Why didn't he arrest Terry Williams for being a sex offender in the home where there were children living? He was even criticized for that during trial. So, you know, there's just every single thing. And then Scott Adams came back and said, well, you know, if you all knew that he, you know, was a registered sex offender, why didn't you arrest Terry Williams when you did your interview with him, or, you know, whatever? So they kind of went back and forth on that, but they wanted to make Daniel a scapegoat for that, or not a scapegoat, but you know, just another thing to pile on with him. You know, you knew this guy was a sex offender and that there were children living in that home, and you didn't you know, arrest him for that. Well, no, he didn't. Let's see. I definitely want to. What is Travis saying here? So Travis says, I would say that nearly all women that don't have a drug addiction would refuse exposing anything. However, a woman with a drug addiction would be willing to do anything to avoid jail. Yeah, you know what? That's valid. That makes perfect sense. I hadn't thought of it that way, but that does make a lot of sense. I think I just mean with Tabitha, she's so cranky and pissy and bitchy and hateful. I would think, but you know, she claimed she thought she was going.
Did we lose Rhonda? Hello.
I was wondering too. I can't hear her anymore.
Yeah. I thought I got disconnected for a second.
No, it's me. I pushed a button that I wasn't supposed to push. Oh boy, I'm going to be in trouble now. I moved my microphone and I accidentally pushed the on and off button on it. Oopsie, sorry. So Terry said he's been stopped by the same officer 3 or 4 times over at Tabitha's house. Well, because like Kay said, Daniel said he was going to stop him anytime he saw him. Terry has been there with other guys drinking in the yard. Holtzclaw would run him and the others. One friend of his officer, oh God, it's so hard to read. I'm just going to read it like Rocky types it, okay? One friend of his, Officer Holtzclaw, asked him if he was wearing makeup, and the officer called the guy a faggot. Terry would just get stopped by him, usually just being in the yard. What he is unintelligibly saying is that one of the friends of Terry Williams that got stopped was also stopped with Holtzclaw. He had asked the guy, this is Jesse Hawkins, if he was wearing makeup, and the officer called him. Again, going back to what Kay and I were saying earlier, Daniel doesn't speak that way. It's just not his mannerism of speaking. So Terry, I asked Terry if Officer Holtzclaw had ever just walked into Tabitha's house on other occasions. He only knew. And I'm just wondering, did he say, is he using the name Officer Holtzclaw like he's typing it here? Instead of saying, I asked Terry if the officer had ever, he says, I asked Terry if Officer Holtzclaw. Does that seem like proper reporting to you guys? That doesn't seem like proper reporting. Can you not hear me again?
No, I hear you. I don't have an issue with that.
You don't?
No, I mean, no.
Okay.
I guess I don't know what do you think you should have said?
I think he should have said, I asked Terry if the officer had ever walked into before, instead of naming the officer he's investigating.
Well, I mean, he called him in, he ran his name, so we know it's Officer Holtzclaw. So
yeah, I know.
Clear.
But he doesn't want you to forget that name.
Right. That's right.
It's like at the if he had said, we heard you've been assaulted by an Oklahoma City police officer, Daniel Holtzclaw, we would freak out if that had been said. But because that would be completely improper, because now you're telling the person that you're interviewing who you think assaulted them. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of it I don't know.
Terry, I don't have an issue with it with Terry.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I don't know.
I see what you're saying, but
yeah, it just I don't know.
The accuser's different, but not with this guy.
Okay.
And not when it's not disputed. Daniel doesn't dispute that he had contact and came into contact with him, called him in, told him he was going to stop him every time he saw him.
Yeah. But yeah, that just brings up another point. At what point do they tell these accusers which officer they believe it is that assaulted them? Like, when do they finally tell them? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just something that just barely clicked in my head, but it doesn't matter anyway. But anyway, Terry advised he was not present whenever officer would harass Tabitha. He never seen any kind of inappropriate incidents that happened to Tabitha. He has seen him stop other women in the past around the neighborhood, because he did, but he never saw anything inappropriate because he wasn't. But we know he stopped Florine Mathis, and lots of people in the neighborhood, lots of ladies in the neighborhood. So that's not a surprise. And then this is Gloria Prince. Now, Gloria Prince is Tabitha's mother. I don't remember, I haven't read all of her police report, but I know there's some storytelling that goes on during trial from Mama. Let's see. I'm just trying to find Venegas's report. That's for the arrest warrant. $800. Okay. Well, I had this separate, so I'm just going to scroll through this really quick. I am not going to stop and focus on any one charge, but this is Tabitha Barnes. What do they call it? A rap sheet. These are her criminal charges. So I'll just start, and I'm just going to like I said, just scroll through. I'm not going to stop and focus on anything. But there's one. 2, 3, 4, and about 3 more. 4 pages of criminal history on Tabitha Barnes. So she has a significant, a significant criminal history. Again, it's okay. Here's the thing about, I guess what I'm saying is just because they have a criminal history, it doesn't mean that they made all of this up and that they're liars. But it doesn't help either. This is Terry Wayne Williams. It does say that he is a sex offender here. And he was charged with sexual battery and sex offense, and he's on the sex offender registry. He claims that it was okay that he was allowed to be in the house with the children because his crime didn't have anything to do with children. For whatever, it never gets, to my knowledge, it never gets specified, but he claims that that's why. So this is just AVL from the 25th at the stop that's legitimate. I am someday, not anytime soon, I'm going to go through and point all of these and pick out the times, but there's just too much going on here. So it won't be anytime soon that I would do that. But I did do some markings on some other. These are, let's see, let me go, help me with these, Kay, or Cherie. This one here, let me just say, this is a CIU, no.
Girl, you went down a rabbit hole.
I did.
You were looking for police reports.
Police reports. Well, it's hard to see the police reports when you're going past all this other important stuff.
All right. We'll be here for 7 hours.
No, we won't. This is AVL inquiry that Daniel had done. Here, Rocky Gregory is asking Joe Hill, who's going to get this information, I want you to find Daniel in that area, his patrol car in that area at 4:30 or later. Because, we know that Daniel had just got on duty because we could smell his cologne. So he wants him to look for a specific time that he was there. And just trying to, this is also a complaint that I had. I was talking about it last night with Kay and Cherie. The way he put together his reports, I'm assuming he did it, was just completely haphazard because we have all of these documents in here and then we get to supplemental reports from other people. This one here is, and it's like, and then when Kay explained it the way she did, it made sense. They were in a rush to try to get everything done. So Rocky was probably just trying to get all of his shit in wherever he could, whenever he could. So that kind of made sense to me when you explain it that way, but it makes it really hard to do any real searching in this document. So this is, the date is 2/27/14, 22/12, so 10:12 p.m. The back of the, it starts here. This cop was dispatched to 1516 Northeast 16th Street or 16th and Terrace in reference to a disturbance call. This is Davin Boyette, and he is one of the officers who responded to the burglary. He responded, though, to not Tabitha's house. He responded to a place at 1516 Northeast 16th Terrace. That is the location where the suspect was located. He says, prior to his arrival, several officers were already on scene already and had 2 individuals in investigation detention and were in the back of patrol vehicles. The individuals were later identified as A.R. Lee, who is the suspect that broke into the home, and victim Summers, and she's another person that was staying with Tabitha. While speaking to the officers already on scene, they advised me, the victim, and other members of her family had seen the arrested leaving from their house carrying a microwave. I have to read this because it's hysterical. Victim chased AR from their house with AR carrying the microwave, and both getting into a physical altercation on Northeast 16th Terrace. So what he's saying, that the ladies came home from wherever they were that night, Tabitha and whoever's with her, and they saw this guy running from her, walking out of her house, carrying a microwave in a box, a brand new microwave in a box. And so these women allegedly parked the car and chased this guy down to the next block going north. Before he got to the next block, he dropped the microwave in somebody else's backyard. But when they finally caught up with this guy, the women, Tabitha and I think her daughter Zion and Raven Summers, another person was with them, they catch up to this guy, they pull him down to the ground, and they beat the crap out of him, I guess. So they're talking about that. And they held him there until law enforcement arrived. Upon looking at the arrested, who was sitting in the back seat of Officer Holtzclaw's patrol vehicle, he noticed that he looked like he'd been beaten up and whatever, and was going to be taken to the hospital. So he had blood on his face and his lip was broken open. While on scene, Officer Holtzclaw spoke with the arrested about tonight's incident. For more information, see Officer Holtzclaw's supplemental report, and we have that as well. So he says, while they were on scene, they advised me that the victim had chased him and he had dropped the microwave somewhere between the victim's house and where the victim caught up with him on Northeast 16th and Terrace. Victim's house is located at 1530. That's where Tabitha lives. Myself and other officers searched the area. I was able to locate a microwave still in the manufactured box in the backyard of another address on the west side of the house near the west gate. I advised my dispatch and other officers to come to the scene of where his findings were. I followed, so this is the next thing that we hear about what happened, what was going on with Officer Holtzclaw. I followed Officer Cruz and Officer Holtzclaw to 1530 Northeast 15th Street to speak with the victim and the rest of her family. Now, the victim in this burglary is not Tabitha Barnes. The victim is Raven Nicole Summers, I think, is who they're calling the victim, even though it took place at Tabitha's house. So they explain that to this officer and goes into some detail. You can read this in Bates's page to get all those details. So that was Davenport. Then let's see, I'm trying to get to Daniel's report. This is Daniel's. Okay, so approximately 2214 responded to a disturbance call at 1516 Northeast 16th Terrace. This is Daniel's report. This is where he responded to a disturbance call at this address. Upon arrival,
this a neighbor, Rhonda, of Tabitha?
16th is no, it's going north of where she lives, so across the street and through another block.
Okay.
I have a picture of it on a map, but I'll try to get through this. Upon arrival, okay, so tell me now I want you guys to listen and start trying to maybe see if you're noticing some mixing up of stories going on here. Upon arrival, I observed a black male laying on the ground sidewalk. The black male, later identified as A.R. Rodney Leeds, stated he was running away from several females that threatened to kill him. observed, it's not funny. I observed Lee to have a bloody lip, it was busted open, and blood dripping from his mouth. I placed handcuffs on Lee in investigative detention without incident. I escorted Lee to my patrol vehicle where he voluntarily made the following statements. Lee stated he went over to the residence, Tabitha Barnes, he states he observed a microwave on the front porch. Lee states, quote, all of a sudden, several black females confronted me and started to make threats, end quote. Lee says he made threats back. Lee got scared and took off running northbound on Jordan away from Tabitha's residence. Lee proceeded to head westbound on Northeast 16th Terrace. Lee says during the time he was running, he observed several subjects chasing him. Lee says someone pushed him down at the area of 1516 Northeast 16th Terrace, where they began to punch him in the face. And that's this, like I said, this is Daniel. For further information, see other officers' report under this case number. That was Daniel's report. That's where he was dispatched to, and that's where he responded to, not Tabitha's house. And then another officer took Ira Buchanan, I guess, is the one who took the suspect to the hospital. He was injured. He had suffered a re-injury of a hematoma.
According to him.
According to him, but also according to him, he ran as he was running from these women on 1516 Northeast Terrace, 16th Terrace. He, I guess, turned around to look behind to see where they were. And when he turned back around, he ran smack dab into a tree and fell on the ground. And that's where they managed to beat him up, I guess. I don't know, but it's just, I know it's not funny, but it's freaking funny that he turned around and ran into a tree and knocked him out cold, apparently.
Yeah, the girls hold him down until the police get there.
Yeah, they all hold him down until the cops get there. So, and that's where Daniel shows up. Yes, it's Raven Nicole Summers. That's her name. She's the victim in here. I don't know why it happens to be her. And then Tabitha is an involved person. So, however that happened, maybe it's because Raven spoke about it. I don't know. But, so these are the only people that were there. So if you want to call this the slumber party, then you can call this the slumber party, but it's the same people. Raven Nicole Summers is with Tabitha Barnes. She's older. I mean, she's older. She's not as old as Tabitha, but she's older than these girls. So there's Raven Nicole Summers, Tabitha Barnes, Zion Barnes, who is Tabitha's daughter, and the friend Kiara again, who is Zion's friend. Those are the ones that are with them in the so it's just the same people that were there at 12:30 that morning waiting to go out to get ice cream. This is Kenneth Wilkie's report. Wonder if I could, I don't know if this is searchable. Do you know if it's searchable?
I don't know.
Are you looking for Venegas still?
Yeah.
I think it's 128. Oh,
Yeah,
you
yeah, 125, 128. Okay. So thank you for helping. That was getting annoying. So this is Rocky's phone interview with Venegas, Officer Venegas, who showed up to back Daniel up on the 27th at 12:14 a.m. Venegas advised, he stated he has only been out on calls with Holtzclaw on stops about 10 times. So it wasn't the first time he'd been out with him before. He did recall the stop at Tabitha's house. He was the backup. He stated that he did recall that stop and he told Gregory that Officer Holtzclaw pulled over a car at Northeast 15th and Jordan. It was past midnight. It was cold out, he recalled. Officer Holtzclaw stated the car was occupied too, so he went to assist. It was an older car with 2 kids and 2 females. They were very cooperative, he recalled. He said they separated the females, questioning them about crack cocaine. It was a drug area, he advised. Venegas couldn't remember how they separated them. He said, I think we split them up. Venegas stated that Holtzclaw ran the two girls for warrants, and we played that for you, that radio traffic. The kids were joking around. Officer Venegas said he just made small talk with one or both of the girls while Officer Holtzclaw ran them. He stated he didn't really talk hardly to them. Officer Venegas said he really let Officer Holtzclaw handle the whole thing. The kids were out of the car at some point, and he told the kids to go inside because it was cold. He recalled a toddler being outside. So maybe that's the grandbaby that Tabitha was talking about later. Venegas said they were getting ready to go to the gas station to get food for the kids since they were hungry. Venegas stated he was there about 10 to 15 minutes. Holtzclaw talked to him and said one of the girls had city warrants. He thought about going to jail, taking her to jail, because he was bored. Then he said he wasn't going to mess with it. Venegas said when he left, he thought the females were going inside with the kids, but he wasn't 100% sure of that. Stated he was the first to leave and go to the station. Officer Holtzclaw followed him right after, and right after he left was what he remembered. And Venegas did not put himself at the traffic stop, but he thought that he did. And he asked him to describe the two women. One had a crazy tattoo on her back. She was the one without a warrant. So Angela Cooper, the other was the mother of the children in her late 20s or 30s. He couldn't describe them much more than that. Venegas didn't see anything inappropriate with Officer Holtzclaw and the females. The females didn't say anything like that happened to them as well. No arrest was made, he advised. So, it's, I don't know, it's pretty generic. I mean, he doesn't make, it doesn't seem like he felt like anything out of the ordinary was going on with that call. This is Kiara Cooper's, Zion's friend, her report of that night of the 27th. She really kind of doesn't really back up anything that Tabitha said, honestly. She was a 14-year-old kid, so she really was rather indifferent to it, as far as I could tell. Let's see. Who is this? Oh, this must be Angela's. Yeah, this is Angela's. Hers is pretty lengthy. It's a couple pages long. But she doesn't I don't want to say she doesn't back Tabitha up, but she doesn't really say things the same that Tabitha did. She kind of distanced herself from Tabitha, we're not really friends. Our families are friends, but now she was also at Tabitha's house. According to her, she had gone to Tabitha's to help her clean the house because Tabitha was getting ready for a Section 8 inspection. So a few people have gone to help Tabitha clean her house, if we remember. And then this one is Jesse Hawkins. He said, Jesse stated that he was with Terry at Northeast 15th and Jordan at a house. A big built officer pulled up to them. They were in a vehicle. He was rude, but nothing out of the ordinary, he explained. He began to talk, ask why they were there. The officer spoke about it being in a drug and prostitution area. He searched them and ran them for warrants. Nothing inappropriate was stated to them. After the stop, Terry told him that officer had been over to that house before. Nothing in particular was noted as being said. Terry told him the officer had been harassing people around there before, but nothing else was said. Nothing said by the officer about not to be seen there again that he recalled. Because that's what Daniel had told him. I don't want to see you around here again, when he first encountered Terry Williams. Okay. So I'm not going to talk about that anymore because I want you guys to go read it and, pick out some of the things that, just based on what you heard on that small short interview, and see what the differences or the oddities that you can find between what was said and what was in the police report. And if you use Bates's police reports, he's going to point a lot of that stuff out for you, so you don't even have to. You're going to have to go to the homepage 11, homepage 12, and homepage 13 though to get all of it. For some reason, I think because of the way he tells the story, he's redacted a lot of the different parts of the police report, but he's going to show it to you in the next, telling that he does. So you'll have to do it that way. But it's definitely interesting, and it's interesting the way Bates picks it apart and gives you small things that you might not have heard in the interview, or that you just might not know in general, because he points out a lot of inconsistencies and lies and things that can't possibly be true and stuff like that.
And compares it to how the stories change.
Yeah.
To preliminary and trial and deposition.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or they do.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you can listen to Bates podcasts over and over and over again and still learn something new every time you listen to it. I do. Every time I listen to an episode, I think there's something that I'm just like, oh my gosh, I didn't hear that before. I didn't pick up on that before. And the more you learn about, I'm sorry.
I think it's because it's okay. Just briefly, I was just going to say, because every one of this case is so complicated anyway, but then you get into somebody like Tabitha Barnes and some of these other ones. Oh my God. It's just mind-boggling. It's almost like, Jesus Christ, how deep can this go, and how far did these people go to? You could even hear maybe I said this in chat earlier, and maybe this is just the way she talks, but I swear every time I hear her speak, she sounds drunk, like she's slurring her words to get them out.
Yeah. Well, and too, listening to this interview, all of her yawning and all of her snorting is just insufferable. It's just like, please stop, and I'm so jaded that, having had a lot of experience with drug abusers, drug addicts in my family, I pick up on the snorting sound. Like, even if it's legitimately a kid that's got a runny nose and they're sniffing, it makes me cringe, because I recognize that from my, family members who are addicts and who never thought I knew that they were addicts.
Hey, if she did it every, 15, 30 minutes, whatever, no big deal.
Right.
It was constant.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah, there was a lot of snorting, and so it could be wrong, but maybe she was smoking crack or slamming dope. I don't know how she does her drugs, what her preferred way is, but all the sniffing makes me think she did a lot of nose work. But I could be wrong. It's not fair to say, but that's how it felt to me, because I kept hearing her sniff. And then the yawning. Now, you can say that is because someone is tired. My former sister-in-law, who is an addict, still an addict, she was constantly yawning. And that's part of, that's a symptom of meth use, or, I don't know about crack or coke, but she was always yawning and making this other sound with her. Well, I don't know what they call them, but it was, I could always, and they were doing these things were very abnormal behaviors to me and to the rest of my family, but to me, to other people, they were like, oh, why is she yawning all the time? Or why Well, I know why. It's symptomatic of her drug use. Now, if that's why Tabitha's yawning and sniffing and, all her stuff, I don't know. But that's what it reminds me of from my own personal experience. So, yeah, anyway. She is probably, I don't know. There's not a lot of interviews that we get to hear, but the ones that we do hear, mushrooms make you yawn. Okay, good to know. I was not aware of that. But to listen to hers is really, really difficult. And I think Liam said it earlier, because she's all over the place with dates and times and places and storylines. It's so hard to follow that it almost makes me angry listening to her. So I don't know. Anyway, what I plan to do, excuse me, I had to have a drink. What's really, really interesting with Tabitha's particular story is, and we're gonna start with we're gonna be doing another 2, possibly 3 more weeks of Tabitha Barnes. I don't have a choice. To make it make any kind of sense to you guys, we have to do that. That's only fair. And so I think that next week we're probably going to go back and look at the timeline again and see, where in the timeline. But Kay kind of explained it earlier. They're already cramming and trying to get all these reports in and get this, because they want to get these charges filed and get him arrested. And so, in order to kind of help this unravel this mess with Tabitha, I'm going to also, you'll see that. First of all, you'll see that in the timeline that Kay has been working on. And I think we also have some slides that Cherie has made to also show, part of the timeline and what was being said and different things that are done. So, but what I also want to start doing, because it's going to be so important to helping unpack all of her weirdness in her story, is showing you some preliminary transcript and then trial transcript, because everything changes. Not only does her story change and intertwine in just this interview we listened to, but it changes again at preliminary, and then it changes again during the trial. And you don't want to miss when we get to the part about, in the trial, about Tabitha Barnes showing up high on PCP to testify at trial. It's a whole thing. It's like a whole half a day that they take trying to. She's very confrontational during her testimony. She's very snippy with Scott Adams, and those are some things you just don't want to miss. But I want to make sure I try to point out for you the changing stories between the police report, preliminary, and trial. And if at any point we're able to get I should have read that sooner. Sorry, Kay. Yeah, I should have done that. Then it's just going to make it that much more interesting and easier to understand why this 45-minute thing was so difficult to understand.
We did learn one thing though.
What was that? Just one?
At least one.
Okay, good.
Rocky Gregory is techno, and he could have taught his little dirty buddy Blinker how to record stuff.
Yeah, he does. He does seem to know how to record. He just doesn't do it when he should.
True.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, and she knows too. She freaking knows. Kim Davis knows how to do it. It's just a convenient lie for her.
Or they
So,
do record and they just don't turn those in if they.
yeah, that's what I think. I think they record this
Yeah.
stuff, but they don't use it because there's going to be too much editing around what they want to present.
Yep, I agree.
So, Liam says drug use can destroy the immune system, so they constantly have a cold too and mess with serotonin levels, which regulates sleep, etc. Absolutely. Yep. Travis says, somebody say drink. What are we having? Well, it looks like you're already on to the margaritas. So, yeah, I'll have 5 margaritas.
Salted caramel moonshine.
Salty caramel moonshine sounds great. Moonshine? I don't know about moonshine. Yeah,
Okay,
caramel.
salted caramel whiskey.
Okay, I like that. Sounds better. That sounds less drastic. Gosh, a margarita sounds so good too. Oh my goodness. But no, it was just coffee. I was just taking a drink of coffee. So, no, it wasn't anything exciting. Liam, that must be why I'm still up at 2:08 a.m. Maybe. Oh. Okay, so anyway, there's going to be, I just feel like in order to do this particular accuser justice, we need to take our time. Never mind. You don't like coffee? He said, oh, never mind. We can put some Kahlua in it, I guess, if you wanted. In order to, I just really want to spend the time to try to make this make more sense than what it does. Because when you finally untwist all of Rocky's words and everything, it does make, you can make it make the sense that it is, that it legitimately is. If you can get past her crazy storytelling and Rocky's inept narration, it does finally make sense. What it doesn't do is explain how in the hell Daniel was charged with any of the counts, convicted of any of the counts with her that he was convicted of. And what I wanted to do in the beginning, but I didn't, I wasn't very put together as I thought I was going to be. Let me get this a little bit larger. And what I want to show you for Daniel's, how everything played out for Daniel in court with this particular accuser. Let me, oh, for health's sake. Why is that? Oh, because I'm in the wrong place. Oh my God. Okay, hold on. I just want to show you how and this is Kay's work. She has been doing all of this and getting it all put together. Susan, would you please do me a favor and read that, just starting where it says Tabitha Barnes? Do you mind?
Sure.
Thank you.
Tabitha Barnes, guilty verdict on 3 counts. 2 counts of procuring lewd exhibition and 1 count of sexual battery. Acquittal on 2 counts. Burglary in the first degree and stalking. Date when police solicited her allegation, August 14, 2014. Count dates, February 27, 2014, March 25, 2014, stalking, and March 26, 2014. 5 counts and verdicts. Sentence was 18 years. First, number 1, sexual battery, guilty. Number 3, burglary in the first degree, acquittal. Number 4, indecent exposure, guilty. Number 5, indecent exposure, guilty. Number 6, stalking, acquittal. Age on dates of alleged sexual assault, 41.
Thank you.
So indecent exposure, he's guilty of making her do that, or he's exposing himself? What?
He's guilty of making her expose herself, which he did not do, according to her.
Oh my God. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, because and that's why,
And
no, they're
sexual
not.
battery was lifting her boobs and dropping them. Is that,
Yes.
which now she says he never touched her.
Now she says in her deposition that he never did. Yep. And this is what he went before the parole board on last year. These counts right here.
Really? Oh my
Yeah.
God.
And he was denied.
Wow.
And they were shown the parole board. There was a news media it was in the news. And the video was shown on the news in Oklahoma City of her saying that, and of Richard Smith saying, "Do you realize that you're saying he never touched you, yet he was found guilty of all of those charges, of those 3 charges? Do you realize that?" And her response to that was just bizarre, to what she said is, "I know that he was charged with me exposing myself."
Yeah.
What? And it's just, and they just, boom, without even thinking about it hardly. Or at least
That
that's the
parole
way it
board
appears.
is so political. What was the vote on that?
All
Do you
4,
know?
all 5 were no.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah,
That's
I
such
believe there were,
bullshit,
I
Lord.
believe 5 of them. No, they're not claiming that he exposed himself, because she exposed herself to him. He's charged with indecent exposure.
Jesus.
And it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't.
So, Liam says his report is like a 16-year-old trying to make sense of a book report by a 12-year-old on the events of a Tale of Two Cities. Yeah, that's a lot. You're giving them a lot of credit. T1 says, has anyone asked the accusers if Kim D. Blinker ever had a recording device with her during her interviews? I don't, not that I'm aware of, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know that anybody's spoken to the accusers about any of it, as far as I know.
Would have been nice to be asked during trial. Huh?
Yeah, exactly. And Kay made a really good point a few minutes ago that I don't know why I was rambling through all of that police report by myself. The reason that I like to have others on the panel with me, just besides the fact that I just love you all, is to help read that stuff. I just was like rambling through all of that. So I apologize to all of you for not asking you to help read all that stuff. I just got carried away. I went on a roll and went crazy with it. I'm so sorry.
No worries.
Next time, just say, hey, mouthy, pipe down, let somebody else have a read. So anyway, that's what we're going to start doing. Next week, like I said, we'll get with the timeline and we'll go through that and the slides that Cherie has made, and we'll discuss those. And in the meantime, as well, we're going to be trying to, yeah, that's a good point. Good point, Liam. In the meantime, I'm going to be trying to figure out how to side by side the different lies, between the interview and the preliminary and the trial, to, keep it fresh for you guys. So we'll work on a way to do that as well.
So was it Henderson that decided on the amount of years on each charge, or how did that go down? I mean, 18 years for that, even if he was guilty of that, is ridiculous.
The jury recommended those sentences and the judge imposed them. So,
yep. And those were the maximum sentences for each of the different things. The jury recommended the maximum sentences
on everything, obviously.
On everything. And not only that, but everything was to run consecutive instead of concurrent, which is just, you know, that's just not that common to run. First of all, for the judge to impose the maximum sentences on everything like that, and it's also not that common to make all of those sentences run consecutively. I mean, that's not very common in trials to have I mean, maybe in murder trials you might see
Yeah,
that,
I was just gonna say that.
and
Murder, maybe.
possibly maybe child molestation and child, crimes possibly. But honestly,
It should
I've
be.
actually heard less time given to child molesters and murderers
Yep.
than
Yep.
what Daniel
A
has.
lot less. A lot less.
Yeah.
It's insane.
But they wanted to make sure that all came down to making sure that there was not going to be a riot, because anything less than what was done would have caused, most likely, possibly, maybe, I'm speculating. I would think that in their minds they were figuring that if they didn't impose the maximum everything and run it consecutively, that they were going to have to worry about riots, possible riots. And they wanted to make sure that didn't happen. So Liam has a good point here, and it kind of reminds me of something Dr. Silkman said too. He said, so I could be arrested if someone comes up to me and exposes themselves. Apparently you can.
In Oklahoma City, you can.
You can in Oklahoma City, depending on who you are. The indictment to expose, could I be arrested for betting someone they wouldn't streak down a busy street? I don't know. I don't, there's not a lot I would take a chance on in Oklahoma City or Manitowoc, Wisconsin. Try to mind my P's and Q's in those places. But yeah, and it reminds me of what Dr. Silkman said, when he was giving his presentation about the DNA. Any man, every male on the planet is can now be suspect in any sexual crime. Every male, by the way the DNA was handled and reported and testified to in Daniel's trial. So
I would have liked them to have swabbed a few other officers' zipper area.
You what?
I'd like them to have swabbed a few other officers' zipper area.
No kidding.
See what
I was thinking Rockies, yeah.
Yeah.
Rockies, yeah.
Rockies. Well,
That'd be
because
perfect.
he did handle, the evidence bag with his
And
bare
Kim's.
hands. And Kim, yeah. It's just really frustrating because, those are things we'll probably never get to have tested or get to know the answers to. Hopefully we do, but, at this point, everything's kind of stagnant, I guess you could say. Not stagnant, but just moving slower than what we'd like. So
You also can't prove that's actually where they found that DNA. Could have been on the outside,
yes.
And just switched swabs and said, "Oh no, it was here on the inside."
Yeah, exactly.
No, don't trust them.
I don't either. I've become, and we've all talked about this at different times for different reasons, but I'm just so jaded now that I just really don't have a lot of faith. And that's sad. It's not the way it's supposed to be, but that's the way I feel. I don't trust any, the lab in Wisconsin, in Manitowoc or Madison, the Oklahoma City lab already has a very long, horrible history of deceit and lies and dirty operations. So, I don't trust anything that comes out of that lab at this point. And the case that's going on right now, and is it called Henrietta? Where
At the town, yeah.
The town, yeah, where the 6 or 7 or 8 people were the murder suicide. You know, I watched a short video on that, and apparently that entire investigation was mishandled.
Oh
The
my
whole
God, it was
thing.
so bad. They
Yeah,
just
and I'm
left
just
everything there.
look
They,
everything,
they didn't
drugs,
do
cell
anything.
phones,
Yeah.
the bed
The chains.
chains, yes, those.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
And
oh,
cuffs.
and I just think, man, they're just so brazen. I don't know where Henrietta is, but at this point, I'm just feeling like there's a lot of Oklahoma in general where there's just not a lot of care. They're very blasé, it seems. They know
I
what's
almost, sorry.
what's that?
I said, I wonder if they didn't just do it, not do all those things because to me, they were, or the law enforcement in general was guilty of letting him be out in the first place. He wasn't supposed to be out.
Yeah.
That's part
Well,
of
they
it.
just said, you know, the perpetrator's dead. Why should we investigate anything? It's exactly what they said.
Wow.
And that just doesn't make sense to me.
No.
That's just, I don't know.
He could have killed other people, you know, as
Yeah,
well.
exactly. There could be other murders that they could solve, you know, or sexual assaults that they could solve. Yeah, it's crazy. Completely off subject, but I do want to mention this. I put this in Foul Play's news articles room, I think. But there's a horrible case in Tulsa that happened in January with a 12-year-old little girl stabbing to death I think it was her 9-year-old brother in Tulsa. And Law and Crime's taken a lot of heat for playing that, but they did a 20 or 24-minute body cam footage of that. Rough stuff. But like I said, I mean, there's nothing being said about that investigation. But anyway, just that's a thing going on in Tulsa. So
that's not far from me.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's a really, really rough case. So, all right. So I'm gonna just excuse me. I'm gonna go ahead and Jack, do you have any last comments you want to make about our discussion tonight?
No, I think we pretty well covered it. Just it's just so complicated especially with Tabitha, and so convoluted. I'm like you in this snorting and all this other shit she does, and I don't know. It's just keep on digging, keep on getting it out there.
We sure are. Cherie, what other comments do you have about what we discussed today?
For me, with Tabitha, I'd only heard the Brian Bates in the beginning, and then, but when you read the police reports about what actually happened, it's like, what? You know, it's like things happened a lot different. They just kind of jammed it all together, and then added a bunch of lies, and there you go.
Yeah.
It was,
and made it. Yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead.
just made it, and the way they did it just made it so confusing that,
right,
you know, a jury is just like, okay, yeah, let's move on to the next because I don't understand what you're saying about this shit. You know, so yeah. Susan.
Yes.
Any last comments about our thing tonight?
It's also frustrating, you know, what they did, how they did it, how they moved dates, and, you know,
all right,
targeted these women basically to become victims.
They did too, and I catch heat for saying that from time to time. But they did target them. They did.
Yeah, yes.
In a sense, they manipulated these women, and that's just another form of abuse in their lives.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right, Kay, anything that you would like to add? I know you're probably almost asleep, but have you spoken to Daniel lately, or anything you'd like to add?
I mean, I spoke with him briefly on the phone yesterday. Our video visit got the video equipment, I guess, at the prison wasn't functioning. So, yeah, he's doing all right. He's back in the gym and his knee's almost healed up. He had injured it. But yeah, he's doing all right, hanging in there. Expecting some visitors tomorrow. So that's always nice when he gets to leave the pod and go speak with people in the real world.
Yeah.
His I don't know, communication with him is kind of quiet. He's not getting many letters or stuff like that right now. So,
well,
it's tiring, it's just,
yeah.
I think people feel like, I don't know what to say to him. I feel like I just say the same things over and over, but I think it's more the process of being handed some mail at mail call. He refers to it as Christmas. So feeling like Christmas. But yeah, he's doing good. He's doing good, trying to, get his strength back up, because over the holiday they canceled gym for, seems like 2 weeks. They kept canceling gym because I guess they were shorthanded at the prison around the holiday. So, he said he had lost 100 pounds of upper body strength, which that's really hard for him to say out. He probably kept saying that.
Yeah.
But he'll get it back in no time if they don't cancel gym. He's pretty dedicated.
Yeah. That's good.
Still just putting good things in his body.
As good as he can from where he's at, right?
It's kind of surprising. He chooses the high protein things from Canteen. They get Canteen orders every Wednesday, and so he buys things that don't necessarily taste good, but that fuel his body the way he needs his body to be fueled to, be able to gain muscle.
Yeah.
Right now he's trying to cut some weight right now. So I don't know. He hasn't really changed in his dedication to working out and keeping his body strong. So
that's good.
Good to see. Yeah, but this case, just being this case and watching all of the lies that Rocky puts into his reports, whether it's a flat out lie or a lie by omission, these are the things that the charging decisions get made on. So it's just criminal. That I'm not to say that the DA's office is anything except corrupt too, or it was at that time. We actually have an honest district attorney right now. I don't know. It's just a pisser to read through and watch him try to manipulate a story and manufacture a narrative inside his reports, trying to get different people that he's interviewing to agree to, hey, we need to get people, let's get Tabitha said it's snowing. I wrote that in my police report. Now, if I can just get Ariana to agree that it was snowing or whatever it is, hands on the car. Oh, did he make you put your hands on the car and spread your legs to search you? Let's get some of the accusers to all say the same things. He's so dumb too. It's just hard to take. It just pisses me off. Anyway, like Jack said, this is a hard one because Tabitha, I think her case is the most convoluted. Her allegations are the most convoluted with Rocky's help of any of the accusers.
Yeah. Yeah, it really
The one
is.
in the hospital kind of tops the list, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
The
yeah.
accusation absolutely does for Shardarian Hill. Yeah. Her accusation is just bizarre. But
Yeah, but thankfully we don't have to defend that one.
yeah. Yes.
Yeah. He wasn't found.
Yeah. He's found not guilty for that one. The whole thing. So
Yeah.
but with Tabitha, it's just so twisted and well, you guys have heard. I mean, you've heard tonight how twisted just the interview alone is. So you know that the whole thing goes like this, and it follows through with trial and preliminary as well. So looking forward to showing some of that stuff to you because you guys will be entertained or pissed off or all of the above, I'm sure. So we'll start doing some of that either next week or the following week, but we'll definitely start sharing some of that with you guys because it's very, very interesting to say the least. Okay, well, so we're going to end this for tonight, and until next time, peace out.